The slipspace rupture tore reality like shredded metal. Inside the UNSC Infinity's bridge, alarms screamed across every console as the massive supercarrier lurched violently through dimensions that shouldn't exist. Captain Thomas Lasky gripped his command chair, knuckles white, watching the main viewscreen fracture into impossible geometries. The Forerunner-enhanced slipspace drive, humanity's greatest achievement, reverse-engineered from ancient alien technology, had just failed catastrophically. "Roland, report." Lasky shouted over the klaxons. The ship's AI materialized beside him, his avatar flickering with distortion. "Captain, we've got a problem." "Actually, we've got several problems, and they're all competing for most likely to kill us status." Roland's usual wit couldn't mask the concern in his digital voice. Slipspace tunnel collapsed mid-transit. Gravitational anomaly off the port bow, reading energy signatures I've never seen before. And sir, those signatures are massive. The Infinity shuddered one final time as it punched through the barrier between universes. Normal space reasserted itself with a visible shockwave that rippled across the vessel's energy shields. The bridge lighting stabilized. The alarms cut to standby warnings. And on the view screen, something impossible filled their vision. "What am I looking at?" Lasky whispered. Commander Sarah Palmer stepped up beside him, her Spartan 4 augmented eyes narrowing at the display. "Sir, is that a wormhole?" It was, but unlike anything in UNSC records. A massive oval structure hung in space, easily 500 meters across, surrounded by what appeared to be an artificial ring of unknown composition. Through its center, a shimmering event horizon pulsed with coherent energy, connecting 2 points in space, or perhaps 2 entirely different galaxies. The gravitational readings were absurd. The power requirements would drain Earth's entire grid in seconds. "Roland, tell me that's not active," Lasky said. "Oh, it's active, Captain. In fact, it's very active. I'm detecting energy transit patterns suggesting sustained matter transmission across," Roland paused, recalculating. "Across intergalactic distances. Sir, whoever built this makes the Covenant look like they're playing with Tinker toys." Lasky's mind raced through first contact protocols. The Covenant War had ended barely 2 years ago. Humanity had fought for 27 years against alien zealots bent on their extinction, had lost billions, had nearly been wiped from existence. The Infinity herself had been built as a last-ditch response to that threat, incorporating salvaged Forerunner technology to create the most powerful warship humanity had ever produced. Now they were lost in an unknown region of space, potentially an entirely different universe, facing technology that dwarfed even the Forerunners. "Weapon status?" Lasky asked, forcing calm into his voice. "All Mach cannons operational," Palmer reported, pulling up tactical displays. "Series 8 batteries charged. Missile pods loaded. Energy shields at full strength. Spartan fire teams Majestic, Crimson, and Castle are on standby. Sir, we can fight if we need to. Let's hope we don't need to." Lasky turned to his communications officer. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Standard first contact package, mathematical proofs, periodic table, basic linguistic patterns. Let whoever built that thing know we're here peacefully." "Captain," Roland interrupted, his avatar solidifying with urgency, "I'm detecting another vessel. Emerging from behind the wormhole structure." The ship appeared on sensors before it registered visually, a vessel perhaps a quarter of Infinity's size, but bristling with weapons. Its design was unlike anything in UNSC databases, angular, functional, with what appeared to be sublight engines and hull markings that included letters. English letters. "Sir, I'm reading designation markers on that hull," the communications officer reported, disbelief coloring her voice. "It says Odyssey. And the prefix reads USAF. United States Air Force. Earth. Their Earth, or some parallel version?" "Roland, is this some kind of Forerunner test?" Lasky demanded. "A simulation?" Negative, Captain. This is real. That ship is real. And they're hailing us. On the view screen, static resolved into an image of a bridge remarkably similar to naval vessels from Earth's 21st century. An older man in what appeared to be Air Force uniform sat in the command chair, flanked by officers. His expression was cautious but professional. Unknown vessel, this is Colonel Paul Emerson of the Earth ship Odyssey. You are in restricted space near a strategic asset of the Tauri defensive network. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded for security screening, or we will be forced to engage. Lasky exchanged glances with Palmer. Earth ship. Tauri, an ancient term for humanity. This was no coincidence. Colonel Emerson, I am Captain Thomas Lasky of the UNSC Infinity. We are also from Earth, though I suspect not the same Earth you know. We experienced a catastrophic slipspace failure and emerged at these coordinates. We mean no harm, but I need to know, what year is it? Emerson's expression shifted from suspicion to confusion. It's 2006, Captain. And what do you mean, not the same Earth? 1. The Infinity wouldn't even begin construction for another 3 years in their timeline. Lasky felt the bottom drop out of his understanding of reality. Colonel, I think we need to talk. Face to face. Because from where I'm sitting, we've got a ship from 2558 that just fell into your 2006, and that structure behind you, he gestured at the massive wormhole, is technology that shouldn't exist in either of our timelines. A younger woman leaned into frame on Odyssey's bridge, blonde hair pulled back, eyes sharp with scientific curiosity. Captain Lasky, this is Colonel Samantha Carter. That structure is called a supergate. It's ancient technology, and yes, we have a lot to explain. But right now, I need to know, have you encountered any beings claiming to be gods? Beings who demand worship and speak of something called origin. Ancient technology. Gods demanding worship. Lasky looked at the supergate again, at the impossible energies flowing through it, and thought of the Covenant's religious crusade, of the prophets who had led billions in worshipping the forerunners as gods. No, Colonel Carter. But we've fought a holy war before. If you're telling me we've landed in the middle of another one, he straightened in his chair, decision made. Then we need to establish secure communication immediately. Because the UNSC Infinity carries 17,000 personnel, multiple AI systems, and enough firepower to crack a planet. If there's a threat to Earth, any Earth, we stand ready to assist. On the Odyssey's bridge, Carter and Emerson exchanged looks that spoke of desperation, of a war going badly, of hope flickering against impossible odds. Captain Lasky, Emerson said quietly, welcome to the Ori War. And I hope to God you're as powerful as you claim, because we're losing. The supergate pulsed behind them, a doorway between galaxies, and somewhere beyond it, an enemy that had already conquered countless worlds prepared their next move. The Infinity hung in space, a warship from the future trapped in an alternate past, carrying the weight of 17,000 souls who had just inherited a war they never asked for. In his projection node, Roland ran probability calculations and came up with numbers that scared even an AI. But when he spoke, his voice carried the same determination that had seen humanity through the Covenant War. Well, Captain, looks like we're not going home anytime soon. Shall I start analyzing this ancient technology and figure out how to kill some gods? Lasky allowed himself a thin smile. Do it. And prep a diplomatic team. We're going to meet these people face to face. He paused, looking at the supergate, at the Odyssey, at the bizarre miracle that had delivered them to another Earth in another universe at exactly the moment they were needed. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Indeed. The captain's voice carried across the bridge with quiet authority. All hands, this is Captain Lasky. Our slipspace drive is damaged, and we're far from home. But we've made contact with forces from Earth, a different Earth, fighting a different war. The UNSC has always stood for one principle, protect humanity at all costs. That principle doesn't change just because the humans we're protecting exist in another universe. Battle stations. Diplomatic protocols. And someone get me every scrap of data we have on religious zealot aliens who claim to be gods. Been there, done that, got the scars, Palmer muttered. The Infinity's massive engines burned steady in the darkness, a fortress of humanity's defiance against extinction. Behind them, the Supergate waited, a door to horrors unknown. Ahead, somewhere in this strange galaxy, an enemy called the Ori prepared their crusade. And between them stood 17,000 men and women who had already survived one apocalypse, carrying weapons that could reshape the balance of power in this new war. The Ori War had just gained an unexpected participant. The Pelican dropship detached from Infinity's ventral hangar, its thrusters firing in controlled bursts as it crossed the void toward the Odyssey. Inside the troop bay, Captain Lasky sat across from Commander Palmer and 3 Spartan Iverses from Fire Team Majestic, full armor, MA-5D assault rifles mag-locked to their thighs, a show of capability wrapped in diplomatic restraint. Roland's avatar flickered into existence on Lasky's datapad. Captain, I've been scanning the Odyssey during our approach. Their technology is fascinating. They're using Naquata-enhanced reactors, that's a mineral I've never encountered, and their shields operate on different principles than our Forerunner-derived systems. Less efficient in some ways, more adaptable in others. Can they hurt us? Lasky asked quietly. Their primary weapon is called an Asgard plasma beam. Based on energy signatures, a sustained barrage could penetrate our shields given time. But Captain, that's not what concerns me. Roland's expression grew serious. I've been monitoring their communications back to something called Stargate Command. They're terrified. Not of us, of whatever's coming through that supergate. The word Ori appears in 70% of their transmissions, always with tactical urgency. Palmer leaned forward. How bad is it? Bad enough that they're willing to let an unknown warship from another universe dock with their strategic asset. That's desperation, Commander. The Pelican shuddered slightly as it entered the Odyssey's hangar bay, smaller than Infinity's massive launch bays, but efficiently designed. Through the viewport, Lasky could see armed personnel in tactical gear taking positions behind portable barriers. Standard security protocol. He approved. The Spartan beside him, Fire Team Leader Thorne, checked his rifle. Sir, if this goes sideways. It won't, Lasky said with more confidence than he felt. We're all human. We're all from Earth. That means something. The Pelican touched down with a hydraulic hiss. The rear ramp lowered, revealing a reception committee that looked like it stepped out of a history book. Military uniforms, yes, but the style was decades out of date by UNSC standards. Projectile weapons, P-90S, if Lasky's historical knowledge was accurate. And standing at the front, a woman in Air Force blue with colonel's eagles and eyes that had seen too much. Samantha Carter. Lasky descended the ramp, Palmer and the Spartans flanking him in formation. The Odyssey's security forces tensed at the sight of the Spartan I versus 7-foot-tall armored super soldiers carrying weapons that looked like they could punch through bulkheads. Carter stepped forward, hand extended. Captain Lasky. Welcome aboard the Odyssey. I'm Colonel Samantha Carter, USAF. I command Stargate Command's Research and Development Division when I'm not flying this boat. Her grip was firm, confident. Lasky shook it, noting the calculation in her eyes as she assessed him. Colonel. Thank you for the hospitality. I know our arrival must have raised alarms. That's putting it mildly. Carter gestured toward a corridor. If you'll follow me, we have a briefing room prepared. General Landry at Stargate Command wants a video conference in 10 minutes, and my chief medical officer will need to verify you're, well, human. Standard procedure for anyone coming through the gate network. Understandable. Lasky nodded to Palmer, who signaled the Spartans to maintain perimeter positions. Though I should warn you, we've got an AI aboard Infinity who's very curious about your technology. Roland has a tendency to get enthusiastic about new data. Carter's eyebrows rose. You have an AI? A true artificial intelligence? Several, actually. Roland is Infinity's primary smart AI, but we've got dumb AIs running most ship systems. They've been crucial to our operations since, he paused, choosing words carefully. Since our war with the Covenant. They walked through corridors that felt cramped compared to Infinity's massive bulk. The Odyssey was a warship, but built on a fundamentally different scale. Carter led them into a briefing room where a wall-mounted screen showed a gray-haired man in Air Force uniform sitting in what appeared to be an underground facility. Captain Lasky, I'm Major General Hank Landry, Commander of Stargate Command. The general's voice was gravelly, authoritative. You've stumbled into a hell of a situation, son. Before we go any further, I need to know, can you get home? Lasky appreciated the directness. Our slipspace drive is damaged. We can make short jumps, maybe, but nothing reliable. Certainly nothing that would get us back to our own universe. We're stranded, General, at least until my engineers can assess the damage and figure out if repair is even possible. Landry's expression didn't change, but Lasky saw the calculation behind his eyes. A massive warship, unable to leave, crewed by 17,000 people who would need resources, support, integration. General, Lasky continued, we're not here to cause problems. The UNSC has strict first contact protocols. We're prepared to share defensive technology, offer humanitarian aid, and assist in any conflict threatening human populations. But I need to understand what we're facing. Colonel Carter mentioned beings claiming to be gods. A woman appeared on the screen beside Landry, civilian clothes, sharp features, brown hair. She looked like she'd been running on coffee and determination for weeks. Captain Lasky, I'm Vala Mal Doran, SG-1. And yes, gods. The Ori. They're ascended beings from another galaxy, entities of pure energy who have achieved a higher plane of existence. They gain power through worship, literal power, and they've launched a crusade to convert or destroy every human in the Milky Way. Lasky felt his jaw tighten. The Covenant had worshipped the Forerunners, had built an entire civilization on religious fanaticism. Billions had died because of that faith. How do you fight beings of pure energy, he asked. Carter pulled up tactical displays. With difficulty. The Ori work through human intermediaries called priors, enhanced humans with incredible powers. Telekinesis, energy manipulation, near invulnerability. They go to planets, demand conversion to the religion of origin, and if populations refuse, they either slaughter them or deploy a plague that wipes out entire worlds. Jesus, Palmer muttered. The Ori motherships are the real problem, Carter continued, highlighting a sleek, elegant vessel on screen. They're massive, heavily shielded, and equipped with beam weapons that can cut through our best defenses. We've lost ships, good crews, trying to stop them. The Prometheus was destroyed 3 months ago. The Korolev was crippled defending a colony world. Another figure appeared on screen, a large, muscular man with a gold symbol on his forehead, wearing what looked like armor from ancient civilizations. When he spoke, his voice was deep, measured. Captain Lasky. I am TLC of the Tauri. I was once first prime to the Gold System Lord Apophis before I joined the fight for freedom. I have fought false gods for 10 years. The Ori are more dangerous than any enemy we have faced because they possess true power, not merely technology disguised as magic. Lasky studied the man, TLC, noting the bearing of a career warrior. The Covenant claimed the Forerunners were gods. They activated weapons that could wipe out all sentient life in the galaxy because of that belief. We stopped them, but it cost us everything. If the Ori are truly ascended beings, how do we hurt them? We're working on that, Landry said. There's a weapon, theoretical, based on the research of an ancient named Merlin. The Sangral. It's supposed to be able to kill ascended beings. But we haven't found it yet, and in the meantime, the Ori keep coming through the supergate you saw. Carter zoomed the tactical display to show the supergate structure. That's their highway between the Ori galaxy and ours. They built it 3 months ago. Every week, more Ori ships transit through, spreading their crusade. We've tried to destroy it, collapse it, even dial it to other addresses to block their transit. Nothing works. How many ships have come through? Palmer asked. 7 so far, Carter said quietly. Each one has subjugated an average of 15 planets. That's over 100 worlds fallen to the Ori in 3 months. Billions of people converted or dead. And Captain Lasky, our fleet is small. We have 4 BC 304 class ships, Earth's most advanced warships. The Odyssey, Daedalus, Apollo, and Korolev, though she's in dry dock for repairs. 4 ships against an invasion force from another galaxy. The math was brutal. Lasky had commanded Infinity through simulations against overwhelming odds, but this was different. This was real, and these people were desperate. "What's your typical engagement protocol?" he asked. Carter pulled up combat footage. Lasky watched Earth ships, BC 304s, sleek and deadly, engage an Ori mothership. Beam weapons lashed out, blue-white energy carving through space. The Earth ship's shields flared under return fire, holding, but barely. Then the Ori vessel unleashed a massive energy beam that punched straight through the Korolev's shields, carving a molten trench across her hull. "We hit and run," Carter explained. "Asgard plasma beams, missile salvos, nuclear warheads when we can get close enough. We try to overwhelm their shields with concentrated fire, but it rarely works. They're just too powerful." "You're fighting them wrong," Palmer said bluntly. Landry's expression hardened. "Commander, we've been fighting aliens for 10 years. With respect, General, so have we," Lasky interrupted. "For 27 years, humanity fought the Covenant, a coalition of alien species with superior technology, superior numbers, and religious fanaticism that made them willing to die by the billions. We lost our colonies. We lost Earth itself, twice. But we learned how to fight enemies that should have destroyed us." He leaned forward, meeting Landry's eyes through the screen. "You're trying to fight the Ori like they're just another enemy with better technology. But if they're truly ascended beings working through proxies, you need to think asymmetrically. Cut their communication lines. Eliminate their ground forces before they can establish conversion zones. Hit their infrastructure, their supply chains, their political structures. Make holding conquered territory so expensive that their crusade stalls." TLC raised an eyebrow. "You speak with the wisdom of experience, Captain Lasky." "I speak with the wisdom of survival, TLC. The UNSC almost lost. Almost. What saved us was adapting faster than the enemy, being willing to sacrifice, and never, giving up ground without making them bleed for it." Carter was studying him with new interest. "Captain, your ship, the Infinity. What's her combat capability?" "For Series 8 Mach cannons," Lasky said. "Magnetic accelerators that fire rounds at 4% light speed. Each round hits with the force of a nuclear weapon. 350 missile pods carrying tactical nukes and conventional warheads. Energy shields derived from Forerunner technology. And enough Marines, ODSTs, and Spartan versus to take and hold a city." The room fell silent. Carter's fingers flew across her datapad, running calculations. When she looked up, there was something like hope in her eyes. "Captain Lasky, 4% of light speed, that's relativistic velocity. The kinetic energy would be enough to crack an Ori mothership's shields," Lasky finished. "Maybe. We'd need to test it." Landry leaned back in his chair. "Captain, I'm not in the habit of accepting help from unknowns, but we're dying out here. If you're willing to commit Infinity to joint operations, I'd like to bring you to Stargate Command." Meet the team that's been fighting this war. SG-1. And here our full strategic situation. Lasky glanced at Palmer, who gave a slight nod. 17,000 crew members. Limited supplies. No way home. And a war against religious fanatics trying to enslave humanity. It felt like 2552 all over again. Like the fall of Reach, when humanity had nowhere left to run. General Landry, the UNSC will stand with Earth. This Earth. Any Earth. Lasky straightened. Send us coordinates for this Stargate command. But I have conditions. My crew remains under UNSC authority. We share technology on a reciprocal basis. And if we're going to fight the Ori, we fight them our way, combined arms, coordinated fleet action, and no holding back. Agreed, Landry said immediately. Colonel Carter will transmit coordinates for Cheyenne Mountain. Welcome to the fight, Captain. God knows we need you. The screen went dark. Carter turned to Lasky with an expression that mixed exhaustion and determination. You really think you can hurt them? The Ori. Lasky thought of the Covenant's massive assault carriers. Of Forerunner constructs that could destroy star systems. Of the sacrifices humanity had made to survive. Colonel Carter, we've killed gods before. The Covenant worshipped the Forerunners. Thought they were divine. But in the end, they were just another enemy that could bleed. If the Ori can influence this reality, they can be hurt. We just need to figure out how. Roland's voice chimed through Lasky's datapad. Captain, I've finished my analysis of the Supergate. You're going to want to see this. Because if I'm right about the power requirements and dimensional mechanics, that thing isn't just a wormhole. It's a weapon. And I think I know how to turn it against them. Palmer smiled grimly. Now we're talking. The Stargate command briefing room felt like a relic to Lasky. Concrete walls, fluorescent lighting, metal chairs arranged around a table that had seen a decade of war planning. 17 levels beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado, this bunker was Earth's last line of defense in a war most of humanity didn't even know existed. SG-1 sat across from him. Colonel Cameron Mitchell, sharp-eyed, fighter pilot posture, leaned back with calculated casualness. Daniel Jackson, the archaeologist, studied Lasky with academic curiosity behind wire-rimmed glasses. Vala Maldoran watched the Spartans with undisguised interest. And TLC sat motionless, a warrior evaluating potential allies. Behind them, through reinforced glass, Lasky could see the Stargate itself. It stood in a massive gate room, a circular ring of ancient metal inscribed with symbols he didn't recognize. 7 chevrons locked into position as he watched, and the gate erupted with an outward vortex of energy, the kawoosh Carter had described, before settling into a stable, shimmering pool of vertical water. A team of 4 soldiers stepped through and vanished, matter converted to energy and transmitted across light years in seconds. That's how you travel? Palmer asked quietly. Just, walk through. Indeed, TLC rumbled. The Chapa AI, the Stargate, has connected our galaxy for millions of years. The ancients built them before they ascended, leaving a network of over 3,000 worlds accessible to those with addresses. Roland's avatar appeared on the briefing room's main screen, his form adapting to SGC's older display technology. Captain, I've been analyzing the gate in your absence. The engineering is extraordinary. It's using controlled wormholes, but with precision I've never seen. The Forerunners had slipspace, but this is cleaner. More elegant. General Landry entered with Colonel Carter, both carrying datapads thick with intelligence reports. Captain Lasky, Commander Palmer, thank you for making the trip. I know leaving your ship was a risk. Infinity can handle herself, Lasky said. Besides, if we're going to coordinate operations, we need to understand your tactical picture. What are we really facing? Daniel Jackson pulled up a star chart showing the Milky Way galaxy. Red markers dotted the display like infection spreading through tissue. These are confirmed Ori-controlled systems. 3 months ago, this map was empty. Now, we estimate between 80 and 100 worlds have fallen. Each prior travels with a small escort, usually converted humans acting as soldiers. They arrive, demand conversion to origin, and give populations a choice: worship the Ori or die. And if they refuse? Palmer asked. Prior plague, Vala said, her voice flat. A bioweapon that kills 90% of a planet's population within days. We've seen it deployed 4 times. Billions dead. The survivors usually convert after that. Fear is an excellent motivator. Lasky felt his jaw tighten. The Covenant had glassed planets, turned entire worlds into radioactive slag. The Ori used disease. Different methods, same genocidal result. What's a prior's combat capability, he asked. Colonel Carter mentioned telekinesis and energy manipulation, but I need specifics. Mitchell leaned forward. They can throw you across a room with a gesture. Create force fields that stop bullets. Some can project energy waves that knock out entire squads. They're also really hard to kill, accelerated healing, enhanced durability. We've tried shooting them, stabbing them, even hitting one with a zat blast. Usually they just get back up. Usually. Palmer caught the qualifier. We've killed 3, Carter said. Once with massive explosive decompression when we blew them out an airlock. Once with sustained heavy weapons fire, it took 40 seconds of concentrated P90 fire to finally put one down. And once, TLC hit one with a staff weapon blast at point-blank range while Daniel distracted him. Lasky looked at the Spartans. Assessment? Thorne considered. Sounds like their enhancement is biological, maybe psychic. Different from our augmentation. If they need concentration for their abilities, disruption tactics could work. Flashbangs, sonic weapons, overwhelming them with multiple threats simultaneously. We've had some success with that approach, Mitchell confirmed. But Captain, the priors aren't the real problem. They're the infection vector. The real disease is the motherships. Carter pulled up technical schematics of an Ori vessel, sleek, elegant, built like a cathedral of destruction. Ori motherships are approximately 600 meters long. Primary weapon is an energy beam that can carve through our shields in seconds. They also carry ring transporters for deploying ground forces and have shields that can withstand simultaneous bombardment from multiple BC-304s. We engaged one last month, Mitchell continued. The Odyssey, Daedalus, and Apollo. Coordinated strike, maximum firepower. We hit them with everything: Asgard beams, rail guns, nuclear missiles. Their shields didn't even flicker. Then they returned fire and crippled the Apollo in one shot. We had to retreat. What's the energy output on their main weapon? Roland asked, his avatar leaning forward with AI curiosity. Carter consulted her datapad. Estimated at 4.2 terawatts per second during sustained fire. That's considerable, Roland admitted. But Captain, Infinity's shields can absorb approximately 6 terawatts before critical failure, and that's sustained bombardment. A single Ori vessel shouldn't be able to breach our defenses quickly. What about multiple ships? Landry asked. Because they don't travel alone. The last transit through the Supergate was 2 motherships together. The math shifted in Lasky's head. Multiple vessels could concentrate fire, overwhelm even Infinity's Forerunner-enhanced shields. They'd need tactical advantages, maneuverability, surprise, or vulnerability exploitation. Tell me about the Supergate, Lasky said. Roland mentioned it could be weaponized. Roland's avatar brightened. Oh, it can. The Supergate operates on principles similar to a standard Stargate but scaled up massively. It requires enormous power to maintain, I'm talking 0-point energy levels. But here's the interesting part, it's a controlled wormhole between 2 galaxies. That means massive gravitational stresses at both ends. If we could destabilize the gate during a transit, you'd tear apart whatever was coming through, Carter finished, excitement creeping into her voice. We've theorized about it, but we've never had the capability to generate enough interference. Our weapons don't have the precision Infinity's Mach rounds do, Lasky said. If we time a shot to impact the event horizon during an Ori ship's transit, the kinetic energy might disrupt the wormhole stability. At minimum, it would damage the ship. At maximum, it would destroy them completely, Carter said. Captain, that's brilliant. But we'd need perfect timing. The Ori ship's transit in approximately 8 seconds. You'd need to fire the moment they start coming through. Roland can calculate firing solutions down to the millisecond, Lasky said. If you can give us advance warning when they're about to transit, we can position Infinity for the shot. Daniel Jackson had been quiet, studying Lasky with that academic intensity. Now he spoke, his voice thoughtful. Captain, I have to ask, you just arrived in this universe. You don't know us. You have no stake in this war. Why are you so willing to help? Lasky met his eyes. Dr. Jackson, I spent most of my adult life fighting a war against religious fanatics who believed genocide was their divine right. The Covenant killed billions of humans across dozens of colonies. They glassed planets, murdered civilians, and justified every atrocity with scripture. I watched friends die. I watched entire worlds burn. And I swore that if I ever had the power to stop that from happening again, I would. He gestured at the star chart, at the spreading red infection of Ori control. You're telling me there's another group of religious zealots trying to enslave or exterminate humanity? That they're using faith as a weapon and death as their currency? Dr. Jackson, I don't need to know you to know that I can't stand by and watch that happen. Not again. Not ever. The room fell silent. Vala studied him with new respect. Mitchell nodded slowly, the recognition of one soldier to another. Even TLC inclined his head fractionally. Besides, Lasky added with a thin smile, we're stuck here. The slipspace drive needs replacement parts we can't manufacture without infrastructure we don't have. Infinity's chief engineer estimates 6 months minimum before we can even attempt a universe transit, and that's if we can figure out how we got here in the first place. So we might as well make ourselves useful. Landry stood. Captain Lasky, on behalf of Earth and the Tauri Alliance, I formally request UNSC Infinity's assistance in defensive operations against the Ori incursion. In exchange, Stargate Command will provide intelligence support, logistical assistance, and full access to our technical databases, including ancient, Asgard, and Goa'uld technology your people can study for your repairs. Accepted, General. Lasky extended his hand. What's our first mission? Carter pulled up a planetary designation. P4X-639. It's a human colony world, population approximately 50,000. We received a distress call 6 hours ago. A prior landed and demanded conversion. The locals refused. Now we're detecting energy signatures consistent with an Ori mothership en route. ETA, 14 hours. They're going to massacre that planet, Mitchell said grimly. We can evacuate maybe 5,000 through the gate before the ship arrives, but that leaves 45,000 people to die or submit. Or we engage the Ori ship, Palmer said. Infinity, Odyssey, whatever other Earth vessels you can scramble. Hit them before they can deploy the Prior's plague. That's suicide, Landry said flatly. One Ori mothership against our fleet. We'll lose ships. You'll lose them eventually anyway, Lasky countered. General, the Covenant taught us one critical lesson, you can't win a war by retreating. Every world you abandon, every population you fail to defend, strengthens the enemy's position and weakens your own. If the Ori think they can attack human colonies without resistance, they'll accelerate their crusade. But if we bloody their nose, if we prove they can be hurt, we change the strategic calculus. We'd need a plan, Carter said. A real one, not just throwing ships at them and hoping. Roland's avatar flickered. Captain, I have a tactical proposal. If we use Infinity as the primary combatant and the BC-304s as support, harassment, missile strikes, shield disruption, we can force the Ori vessel into a defensive posture. Then Infinity delivers a Mach strike at close range. 4 rounds, synchronized impact. Even their shields can't disperse that much kinetic energy instantaneously. How close is close range? Mitchell asked. 2,000 kilometers, Roland said. Effective Mach range at that distance is near guaranteed hit, and the rounds will still be at 97% of maximum velocity. Carter was already running calculations. The Ori ship will see you coming. They'll focus fire on Infinity. That's the idea, Lasky said. We draw their attention while your ships flank them. They can't concentrate on all of us simultaneously. It's basic pack tactics, multiple vectors, overwhelming target saturation. TLC raised an eyebrow. You would make yourself the target? Risk your vessel and 17,000 crew? If it saves 45,000 civilians? Yes. Lasky looked around the table. That's what the UNSC does. That's what we've always done. We stand between humanity and extinction, and we don't back down. Vala grinned. I like him. He's either brilliantly brave or suicidally stupid. Both, usually, Palmer muttered. Landry studied Lasky for a long moment, then nodded. All right, Captain. You've got your mission. Colonel Carter, coordinate with Infinity's tactical team. I want firing solutions, approach vectors, and contingency plans. Odyssey will accompany Infinity to P4X-639. Daedalus is on patrol but can rendezvous within 12 hours. We hit them hard, we hit them fast, and we prove to the Ori that Earth will defend her children. He turned to Daniel. Dr. Jackson, I need you to dial P4X-639 immediately. SG-1 goes through first, starts evacuation procedures, and warns the locals that a battle is coming. Get as many through the gate as possible before the Ori arrive. On it, Daniel said, already heading for the control room. As the briefing broke up, Carter approached Lasky. Captain, I have to say, this is either going to work brilliantly or fail spectacularly. There's not much middle ground. Colonel, I spent the last decade of my career fighting a war we were losing. Every battle was either work brilliantly or fail spectacularly. We got used to it. He smiled grimly. Besides, Roland's been analyzing your technical data on the Ori. He thinks he's found something interesting about their shield harmonics. Oh. Carter's eyes lit up with that scientific curiosity Lasky was beginning to recognize. Their shields are designed to disperse energy, beam weapons, plasma, even nuclear explosions. But they're not optimized for kinetic impacts, especially not at relativistic velocities. It's the same weakness the Covenant had. They built shields to stop energy weapons because that's what they used. But humanity still used ballistic weapons, and when our Mach rounds hit their shields, the kinetic transfer overwhelmed their dispersion systems. Carter was already pulling up shield modulation data, comparing it to Roland's analysis. Oh my God. You're right. The Ori shields are brilliant for energy dispersion, but the kinetic absorption coefficient is. Captain Lasky, your Mach rounds might punch straight through their shields. That's what we're counting on, Colonel. Lasky checked his chronometer. 14 hours until the Ori arrive. That gives us time to position Infinity, brief the crew, and prepare the Mach batteries. This is going to be the first real test of human cooperation across universes. Let's hope it's not the last, Carter said quietly. Through the briefing room window, the Stargate activated again, its event horizon shimmering as SG-1 stepped through to begin evacuations. Somewhere 40,000 light-years away, a colony world waited in terror as an Ori mothership approached, carrying conversion or death. And in orbit above Earth, the UNSC Infinity's crew prepared for battle, their Mac cannons charging, their Spartan Iverses checking weapons, their captain making a choice that would define their role in this new universe. They had fought gods before. They would fight them again. P4X-639 was a farming world, endless fields of golden grain rippling beneath twin suns, small settlements connected by dirt roads, a civilization that had regressed to agrarian simplicity after their ancestors were abandoned here by gold slavers millennia ago. Daniel Jackson stood in the central village square, watching terrified families stream toward the Stargate as SG-1 organized the evacuation. "Daniel." Mitchell's voice crackled through the radio. "We've got a problem. The village elders are refusing to evacuate. They say this is their home, and they won't abandon it to more false gods." Daniel found the elders gathered in a stone meeting hall, 12 men and women, faces weathered by sun and labor, expressions set with stubborn defiance. Their leader, a woman named Karas, stood with arms crossed. "Dr. Jackson, we have survived droughts, plagues, and raiders. We will survive this." "Karas, this isn't raiders. The Ori aren't like the Goa'uld. They don't want slaves, they want worshippers. And if you refuse," Daniel struggled for words that wouldn't sound like the fear-mongering the Goa'uld had used for centuries. "They'll kill you. All of you. Then we die free," Karas said simply. "Our ancestors were taken from Earth against their will, enslaved by creatures who claimed divinity. We will not kneel to another false god, even if it costs our lives." Vala appeared in the doorway, slightly out of breath. "Daniel, we've evacuated 8,000. But there are still 37,000 people scattered across this continent, and the Stargate can only cycle so many times per hour. We're not going to get everyone out." Daniel looked at Karas, at her determined expression, and felt the weight of impossible choices. Save who they could and abandon the rest, or stay and fight alongside people who deserved better than to be victims of another religious crusade. His radio crackled. "Dr. Jackson, this is Captain Lasky aboard Infinity. We're 5 hours out from P4X-639. I'm reading massive population centers still on the surface. What's your evacuation status?" "Captain, we've got 8,000 through the gate, but the locals are refusing to leave. And we can't evacuate 40+ thousand people through a Stargate in 5 hours. A pause. Then Lasky's voice, calm and professional. "Dr. Jackson, tell them that UNSC protocol is clear, we don't abandon civilians to hostile forces. Infinity will defend P4X-639. They have my word." Karas had been listening, her translator allowing her to understand. "Who is this captain?" "Another one who claims to protect us." Daniel met her eyes. "Captain Lasky commands a warship from another Earth, one that fought a war against religious fanatics for 27 years. He knows what the Ori are, what they do. And he's coming here to fight them. One ship against a god's vessel." Karas shook her head. "That's suicide." "That's Tuesday for the UNSC," came Lasky's dry voice over the radio. "Ma'am, I don't know you, but I know your choice. Stay and fight, or evacuate to safety. Either way, we're going to make the Ori regret coming to your world." In Infinity's Combat Information Center, Lasky stood before holographic tactical displays showing the battle space. P4X-639 rotated below them, a peaceful blue-green marble about to become a war zone. Roland had positioned sensor drones throughout the system, giving them real-time data on the approaching Ori mothership. "Contact," Roland announced. "Ori vessel dropping out of hyperspace at the system's edge. They're taking a slow approach, looks like they want the locals to see them coming, build fear. Psychological warfare," Palmer observed. "Make the target terrified before you even fire a shot." "It's effective," TLC said from his position beside the command chair. He'd requested to observe Infinity's combat operations, and Lasky had agreed. Now the Jaffa warrior studied the tactical displays with professional interest. The Goa'uld employed similar tactics. Arrive in orbit with overwhelming force, demand submission, allow fear to break resistance before a single weapon is fired. Carter stood at a secondary console, her fingers flying across unfamiliar UNSC interfaces with surprising ease. "Captain, I've been analyzing the Ori ship's approach vector. They're coming in at 0.4 light speed, decelerating steadily. They'll reach P4X 639's orbit in 48 minutes. Fleet status?" Lasky asked. "Odyssey is on our port flank, 3,000 kilometers out," the tactical officer reported. "Daedalus just dropped out of hyperspace on our starboard. Both ships report ready for combat operations." 3 ships. 3 human vessels from an Earth that had been fighting aliens for a decade, facing a mothership from beings who claimed godhood. The tactical disadvantage was enormous. 1 Ori vessel had crippled 3 BC-304s in previous engagements. But those engagements hadn't included a 5-kilometer-long supercarrier with Forerunner-enhanced weapons. "Roland, what's our max status?" "All 4 Series 8 cannons charged and ready. I've calculated firing solutions for every possible engagement range. Captain, at 2,000 kilometers, we'll have a 97.3% hit probability. The rounds will impact with approximately 6.8 times 10 to the 16th joules of kinetic energy. For comparison, the Tsar Bomba, Earth's largest nuclear weapon in both our timelines, released about 2.1 times 10 to the 17th joules. Each Mach round is roughly 1/3 of that yield, pure kinetic transfer." Carter looked up sharply. "Captain, did your AI just say your rounds hit with 1/3 the energy of the largest nuclear weapon ever built?" "Per round," Lasky confirmed. "And we're firing 4 simultaneously." "Sweet mercy," Carter whispered. "That's more kinetic energy than our entire missile complement combined." "The Covenant had energy shields that could disperse nuclear explosions," Palmer explained. "But kinetic weapons at relativistic velocities transfer energy too quickly for shields to compensate. The impact happens before the shields can adapt. It's basic physics, you can't disperse momentum that's already been delivered." TLC raised an eyebrow. "You have fought such battles before?" "Hundreds," Lasky said quietly. "The Battle of Earth. The Fall of Reach. Sigma Octanus 4. Every major engagement of the Human Covenant War involved ships slugging it out at ranges where one mistake meant death. We learned to fight enemies with superior technology by exploiting their tactical assumptions." The Ori ship appeared on visual sensors, a sleek, elegant vessel that looked more like a cathedral than a warship, all graceful curves and golden highlights. It moved with terrible confidence, shields already raised, weapon systems charging. "They're scanning us," Roland reported. "Active sensors sweeping Infinity's hull. They're trying to classify our threat level." "Let's give them something to classify," Lasky said. "Helm, bring us about. Heading 187 Mark 35. Tactical, warm up the Mach capacitors. I want every weapon system online and ready." Infinity's massive engines fired, the supercarrier rotating ponderously to bring her bow, and her 4 Mach cannons, to bear on the approaching Ori vessel. The movement was deliberate, visible, a statement, "We're not running." "Ori ship is hailing us," communications reported. "Audio only. Put them through." A voice filled the CIC, deep, resonant, carrying the absolute certainty of zealotry. "Unknown vessel, you trespass in space claimed by the Ori, the true gods of creation. You will stand down and allow us to minister to the humans of this world. Interference will be met with divine judgment." Lasky leaned back in his command chair. "This is Captain Thomas Lasky of the UNSC Infinity. P4X 639 is under our protection. The humans here have chosen not to convert to your religion. We will defend their right to make that choice. Withdraw peacefully, and we won't have a problem." Silence. Then laughter, cold, mocking. "You dare speak of choice when defying the will of the Ori? Your arrogance will be punished." Hallowed are the Ori, and blessed are those who serve them. You and your vessel will burn as a lesson to all who would resist divine will. The connection cut. Well, Roland said, they're not much for diplomatic compromise. Sir, Ori vessel is increasing speed, Tactical reported. They're moving into attack position. Energy signature spiking, their main weapon is charging. Odyssey and Daedalus are moving into flanking positions, Carter reported from her console. Colonel Emerson reports ready to engage on your order. Lasky studied the tactical display. The Ori ship was larger than the BC-304s but smaller than Infinity, maybe 600 meters to their 5,000. But size didn't always correlate to power. The Covenant's assault carriers had been 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to glass continents. Roland, are the priors aboard that ship? Scanning, confirmed. I'm detecting one humanoid with significantly elevated bioreadings consistent with Colonel Carter's prior profiles. They're on the bridge section. Can you target the bridge specifically with a MAC round? Carter's head snapped up. Captain, MAC rounds are ship killers. You can't use them for precision strikes. Actually, Roland interrupted, I can. MAC rounds are magnetically guided throughout their acceleration phase. I can adjust trajectory up until the moment they leave the barrel. With precise targeting data, I could put a round through a 2-meter window at maximum range. It wouldn't be easy, but it's possible. Do it, Lasky ordered. First round targets their bridge. Kill the prior, disrupt their command structure. Remaining 3 rounds target their power systems. If we can knock out their main reactor, their shields collapse and they're dead in space. Captain Lasky, TLC said, you intend to decapitate their command with a single strike. That's the plan. The Covenant prophets commanded from the bridge of their flagships. Take them out, and the crew panicked. Priors might have powers, but they're still vulnerable to kinetic weapons traveling at 4% of light speed. Ori's ship is firing, Tactical shouted. On the display, a beam of golden energy lanced out from the Ori mothership, beautiful and terrible, carrying enough power to vaporize continents. It struck Infinity's forward shields, and the ship's hull reverberated with the impact. Shields at 86%, Roland reported. That's actually not as bad as I expected. Their weapon is powerful, but it's energy-based. Our Forerunner-enhanced shields are designed to disperse energy attacks. Return fire, Lasky ordered. All MAC cannons, synchronize strike. Targets designated. The Series 8 MAC cannons were built into Infinity's superstructure, massive magnetic accelerators that ran nearly a quarter of the ship's length. Now they hummed with building power, capacitors discharging in precisely timed sequences. 4 tungsten carbide rounds, each weighing 3,000 tons, accelerated down magnetic rails at speeds that defied comprehension. They left Infinity's barrels at 4,400 kilometers per second, 4% of light speed, and crossed the 2,500 kilometers to the Ori ship in 0.6 of a second. The first round hit the bridge section. The impact was catastrophic. Kinetic energy equivalent to 20 megatons of TNT delivered in a microsecond. The Ori ship's shields flared brilliant gold, trying desperately to disperse the momentum, but physics doesn't negotiate. The round punched through the shield, through the hull, and detonated the bridge in an explosion of vaporized metal and superheated plasma. The remaining 3 rounds hit the ship's midsection simultaneously. The Ori mothership's elegant hull buckled. Shields collapsed entirely under the kinetic assault. Secondary explosions rippled across the vessel's length as power conduits overloaded and reactor containment failed. The ship's graceful deceleration became an uncontrolled tumble, atmosphere venting from dozens of breaches, internal fires visible through ruptured sections. The CIC fell silent. Direct hits, Roland said, almost reverent. All 4 rounds on target. Ori vessel it's dead, Captain. Main power offline, shields down, bridge section completely destroyed. They're venting atmosphere and losing orbit. On P4X-639, Daniel Jackson stood with Kara's and the village elders, watching the sky. They'd seen the golden flash of the Ori weapon, the distant spark of Infinity's shields absorbing the blow. Then 4 streaks of light, too fast to truly see, and a second sun blossoming in orbit, brief, brilliant, and final. What happened? Kara's whispered. Daniel's radio crackled. Dr. Jackson, this is Captain Lasky. Threat neutralized. The Ori ship is disabled and losing orbital integrity. We'll monitor it to ensure no escape pods launch, but that fight is over. P4X-639 is safe. Kara's looked at Daniel, disbelief warring with hope. One ship. They destroyed a god's vessel with one ship. Turns out gods bleed just like anyone else, Daniel said quietly, when you hit them hard enough. In Infinity's CIC, Lasky let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Casualty report. Minor injuries from the impact when their weapon hit our shields, Palmer reported. Nobody critical. Shields are already regenerating, we'll be back to 95% in 10 minutes. Carter was staring at the tactical display, at the crippled Ori ship tumbling toward atmospheric re-entry. Captain Lasky, that was. I've never seen anything like that. We've been fighting these ships for months, and you just killed one in under a minute. Colonel, the UNSC has been perfecting ship-to-ship combat for 3 decades. Mac cannons are our answer to enemies with superior technology. You can't adapt to a 3,000-ton projectile moving at relativistic velocity. It hits, and you die. Simple physics. TLC approached the command chair, his expression thoughtful. Captain Lasky, you have dealt the Ori their first significant defeat in this galaxy. They will not ignore this. More ships will come, and they will adapt. Let them come, Lasky said. We've got 3 more Mac cannons, 300 missile pods, and a crew that's fought worse. General Landry, are you seeing this? On the communications display, Landry's face showed carefully controlled elation. We're seeing it, Captain. You just changed this war. The Ori have seemed invincible for months. Now we know they can bleed. They can do more than bleed, General. They can die. Lasky looked at the tactical display, at P4X-639 safe below, at the disabled Ori ship burning in re-entry. And we're going to teach them that lesson over and over until they stop coming. But even as victory settled over Infinity's crew, Roland was analyzing long-range sensor data, detecting something troubling. Energy signatures at the edge of the system. Multiple contacts. The Ori were responding. And they were bringing reinforcements. The prior's name was Damaris, and he had served the Ori for 3 lifetimes of mortal men. Enhanced, empowered, made nearly immortal by the blessing of the gods, he had spread origin across dozens of worlds and watched billions kneel before divine truth. Now he stood in the holiest chamber of the Ori's grand temple in Celestis, their city of light in the Origin galaxy, and felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. The vessel Ver Ager has fallen, intoned the Dosai, the Ori's primary representative among mortals. The ancient man's eyes glowed with borrowed power as he channeled the god's will. An unknown ship has destroyed it with weapons unlike any we have encountered. The prior aboard died instantly, his connection to the Ori severed in a heartbeat. Around Damaris, a dozen other priors stood in their ceremonial robes, staffs glowing with sacred fire. They were the Ori's instruments of conversion, unstoppable emissaries who bent planets to divine will. But now, uncertainty rippled through their ranks. How? Asked Prior Toman, younger but no less devoted. The Ori's vessels are invincible. Their shields are blessed by ascended power. This ship, they call it Infinity, employs weapons of pure kinetic force, the Dosai explained. No energy to disperse. No faith to corrupt. Simple mass at impossible velocities. The Ver Ager's shields were not designed for such crude brutality. Damaris felt the Ori's attention shift, vast, incomprehensible minds focusing through the dossier on this new development. When they spoke, their voice reverberated through every prier's consciousness simultaneously. This vessel comes from beyond our sight. Technologies we do not recognize. Humans who do not fear our judgment. They have protected heretics from conversion. They have destroyed our sacred instrument. This cannot stand. What is your will, blessed Ori? Damaris asked, bowing his head. 3 ships will transit the Supergate. You, Damaris, will lead them. The Infinity must be destroyed as an example. The humans who crew it must learn that no technology, no matter how advanced, can stand against divine will. Show them the price of defiance. Damaris straightened, sacred purpose filling him. It shall be done, blessed Ori. Their ship will burn, and their crew will either convert or perish. But as he left the chamber, doubt whispered at the edges of his enhanced mind. The Ori had called Infinity's weapons crude. But crude tools that killed ascended vessels were no longer simply crude, they were effective. And effectiveness, Damaris knew from centuries of conquest, mattered far more than elegance. Aboard Infinity, Roland's avatar flickered with urgency as he materialized in Captain Lasky's ready room. Captain, we have a problem. Multiple hyperspace windows opening at the system's edge. I'm reading 3, repeat, 3, Ori motherships inbound. Lasky looked up from the damage reports he'd been reviewing. Infinity had taken minimal damage from the brief engagement, but he'd been analyzing the fight, looking for tactical improvements. Now that analysis became immediately relevant. ETA. 32 minutes at current velocity. And Captain, they're not slowing down for psychological impact this time. They're coming in hot and angry. Palmer entered the ready room, her Spartan instincts already reading the situation from Lasky's expression. How bad? 3 Ori ships. We just killed one, so they're sending triple the force to make a point. Lasky pulled up tactical projections. Roland, what's our combat effectiveness against 3 simultaneous targets? Problematic, Roland admitted. Our MAC cannons need 20 seconds to recharge between volleys. In that window, 3 Ori ships can concentrate fire on our shields. Based on the single ship's output, 3 vessels firing simultaneously will breach our shields in approximately 40 seconds of sustained bombardment. After that, they start carving through our hull. What about Odyssey and Daedalus? Palmer asked. They'll help, but their Asgard beams didn't scratch Ori's shields in previous engagements. At best, they're distractions. At worst, they become targets the Ori will eliminate quickly to focus on us. Lasky studied the tactical display, running scenarios. 3 hostile capital ships, each capable of sustained energy bombardment. Infinity could kill 1, maybe 2 if they were lucky, but the 3rd would tear them apart. The math was brutal. We need to even the odds, he said finally. Roland, send a flash transmission to Stargate Command. We need whatever fleet assets they can spare. Every BC 304, every Earth vessel within range. Captain Lasky, came Colonel Carter's voice over the comm, we're already on it. General Landry is recalling the Apollo from patrol. But it's 6 hours out, they won't arrive before the Ori do. 6 hours too late. Lasky had seen this scenario before, at Reach, when the Covenant arrived with overwhelming force and humanity's fleet scrambled desperately to mount a defense. They'd lost that battle. Lost the planet. Lost billions. He wouldn't lose here. Commander Palmer, prep all Spartan fire teams for boarding operations. If we can't destroy all 3 ships with MAC strikes, we'll do it the hard way, board them and sabotage their reactors from the inside. Palmer's expression showed she understood the odds of boarding an enemy capital ship in combat. Sir, that's a one-way trip. We'd need to use Pelicans to approach, and the Ori point defense will shred them before we get close. Not if we use the Ori's own tactics against them. Lasky pulled up sensor data from the destroyed Ori ship. Roland, the Ver-Ager had ring transporters, right? Similar to the Goa'uld technology Colonel Carter described. Confirmed. They use them for deploying ground forces. Then the incoming ships will have them too. And if we can get our people close enough, within transporter range, we can beam Spartans directly aboard. Roland's avatar brightened. Captain, that's insane. It's also brilliant. The Ori won't expect boarding actions during a space battle. Their shields are designed to stop weapons fire, not prevent transporter intrusion. Will it work? Palmer asked. Possibly, Roland said. Transporter technology in this universe operates on different principles than what I'm familiar with, but I've been studying Colonel Carter's technical data. If we can adapt our equipment to emit compatible signals, we could theoretically piggyback on their ring system. Carter's voice came through the comm, excitement overriding military formality. Captain Lasky, did you just propose boarding an Ori mothership during combat operations? You have a better idea, Colonel. A pause. Then, actually, no. And it might work. The Ori have never faced boarding actions, they rely entirely on priors and their shields. If your Spartans can reach the reactor cores and plant explosives, you could disable the ships from within while Infinity engages from outside. It's a coordinated strike, Lasky said, pieces falling into place. Infinity draws their fire, keeps them focused on the external threat. Spartan teams transport aboard, fight their way to engineering, and blow the reactors. The Ori won't know what hit them until it's too late. Captain, TLC's deep voice joined the conversation from the CIC, I have boarded many Goa'uld vessels in similar circumstances. The Ori ships will be heavily defended internally. Your warriors will face significant resistance. TLC, I'd welcome your tactical assessment. You fought in these kinds of engagements, what are we facing? Prior Damaris will likely command the assault, TLC said. He is among the Ori's most experienced warriors. The ship will carry converted human soldiers, perhaps 200 per vessel. They will be fanatical, willing to die for their gods. But they are not enhanced, merely devoted. Your Spartan's superior combat capabilities should prevail in direct engagement. What about the Prior himself? Palmer asked. That is the greater threat, TLC admitted. Priors possess abilities that technology cannot easily counter. Telekinesis, energy projection, accelerated healing. In close quarters, Prior Damaris would be a formidable opponent. Lasky looked at Palmer. Can Spartans take a Prior? Palmer considered, running combat simulations in her augmented mind. We've fought worse. The Covenant had elites, 8-foot-tall aliens with energy shields and plasma weapons. Spartans killed them by the hundreds. If a Prior is biological, can be hurt by physical trauma, then yes, we can kill him. It won't be easy, and will take casualties. But we can do it. Then here's the plan, Lasky said, pulling up a tactical overview. Infinity engages all 3 Ori ships simultaneously, rotating to keep Mach cannons in play. We fire on different targets each volley, force them to spread out, prevent them from concentrating fire. Odyssey and Daedalus provide harassment, missile strikes, beam weapons, anything to keep the Ori distracted. He highlighted 3 Spartan teams on the tactical display. Fire Team Majestic boards the lead ship, that's where Damaris will be. Fire Team Crimson takes the second vessel. Fire Team Castle hits the third. Each team's objective, reach the reactor core and plant havoc tactical nukes. 30 megaton yield set for remote detonation. Once all teams report packages delivered, they extract via ring transport and we blow all 3 ships simultaneously. That's a lot of things that have to go right, Roland observed. Welcome to UNSC operational planning, Palmer said dryly. If things go wrong, we improvise. That's what Spartans do. Carter's voice carried concern. Captain, you're describing a mission with a very high probability of casualties. Are you sure? Colonel, I watched the Covenant glass planets. I saw what happens when you let religious fanatics operate unopposed. The Ori want to spread their crusade across this galaxy, and they're willing to commit genocide to do it. If we don't stop them here, they'll keep coming. More ships. More priors. More dead worlds. Lasky's voice hardened. So yes, I'm sure. We stop them now, we make them bleed, and we show every other Ori vessel that humanity won't kneel. General Landry's face appeared on the display, transmitted from Stargate Command. Captain Lasky, I'm authorizing this operation. But understand, if this fails, if Infinity is destroyed, Earth loses its most powerful defensive asset. The Ori will have free reign. Then we won't fail, General. Lasky stood. Roland, start adapting our transporters to interface with Ori ring technology. Commander Palmer, brief the Spartan teams. I want them armed with everything we've got, assault rifles, shotguns, rocket launchers, and enough explosives to turn those ships into debris fields. What about the priors? Palmer asked. Shoot them. A lot. Overwhelming firepower has solved most of our problems historically. TLC's expression might have been the Jaffa equivalent of a smile. Captain Lasky, I believe I would have enjoyed fighting alongside the UNSC in your war. Your tactics are refreshingly direct. Directness is all we had when facing superior technology. Hit hard, hit fast, and don't give the enemy time to adapt. Lasky moved toward the CIC. All hands, this is the captain. Battle stations. Ori reinforcements inbound, ETA 28 minutes. We're going to do something inadvisable, dangerous, and absolutely necessary. We're going to board enemy ships mid-combat and blow them up from the inside. I know that sounds insane. It probably is insane. But it's also the kind of insane that wins wars. Across Infinity's massive hull, 17,000 crew members moved to combat positions. In the hangar bays, Spartans checked weapons and armor. In engineering, technicians adapted transporter technology they barely understood. In the CIC, tactical officers plotted firing solutions for a battle that would determine whether humanity's intervention in this war would end in triumph or disaster. And in the Ori Temple of Celestis, Prior Damaris felt the god's certainty flow through him as his three motherships entered the supergate, reality warping around their hulls as they crossed between galaxies. The Ori had never lost. Their crusade was inevitable, their victory assured by divine mandate. But they had never faced humanity at its most dangerous, cornered, desperate, and absolutely unwilling to surrender. The battle for P4X-639 space was about to begin, and the Ori were about to learn that crude effectiveness trumps elegant divinity when kinetic weapons start flying. The Supergate's event horizon shimmered as three Ori motherships emerged from their intergalactic transit, golden hulls gleaming with sacred purpose. They moved in formation, a triangle of divine judgment descending on the system where one of their own had fallen. On the bridge of the lead vessel, Prior Damaris stood with his staff planted before him, eyes glowing with borrowed power. Scan for the heretic ship, he commanded. His converted crew, humans who had accepted origin after witnessing the Ori's power, worked with religious fervor at their stations. Prior Damaris, we have located the Infinity. It holds position near the fourth planet, alongside two smaller Tauri vessels. They dare to remain. Damaris felt satisfaction ripple through him. They should have fled while they could. Now they will witness the futility of resistance. All ships, advance. Weapons charged. We will destroy them utterly. The three Ori motherships accelerated, their elegant forms cutting through space like divine instruments of judgment. Behind them, the supergate pulsed, a permanent gateway to the origin galaxy and the gods themselves. In Infinity's CIC, alarms wailed as the Ori ships entered sensor range. 3 contacts confirmed, Roland reported, his avatar displaying tactical data across multiple screens. Designating targets as Ori 1 through Ori 3. Ori 1 is broadcasting prior energy signatures, that's Damaris. Ships are in attack formation, approaching at 0.6 light speed. Lasky stood at the holographic tactical table, watching the enemy advance. Around him, the CIC hummed with controlled urgency, weapons officers checking MAC capacitor charges, communications coordinating with the Odyssey and Daedalus, damage control teams standing ready. Time to weapons range. 4 minutes, 30 seconds, tactical reported. Sir, they're not slowing down. They're going to hit us hard and fast. Good. Angry enemies make mistakes. Lasky activated the ship-wide comm, all hands, this is the captain. The Ori have responded to their loss with overwhelming force. 3 ships versus our 1. They think numbers will save them. They're wrong. Today we're going to teach ascended beings that humanity doesn't break under pressure, we fight harder. MAC cannons are ready. Spartans are ready. And when those ships close to boarding range, we're going to show them why the UNSC survived 27 years of war against impossible odds. Stand ready. In Hangar Bay 7, Commander Palmer stood before 60 Spartans, 3 full fire teams, the deadliest soldiers humanity had ever produced. Their Mjolnir armor gleamed under harsh lighting, active camouflage systems primed, weapons loaded with enough ammunition to fight a small war. Listen up, Palmer said, her voice carrying command authority earned through 100 battles. We're about to do something stupid. We're going to board enemy capital ships while they're actively engaging Infinity in a space battle. The Ori think their shields and priors make them invincible. We're going to prove them wrong. She pulled up holographic schematics of Ori mothership internals, reconstructed from sensor scans of the destroyed Ver Agar. Your objectives are the reactor cores, here, here, and here. Each team plants a Havoc tactical nuke, then extracts via ring transporter. Once all nukes are placed, we detonate simultaneously and turn 3 Ori ships into expanding clouds of debris. Spartan Thorn, Fire Team Majestic's leader, raised a hand. Ma'am, what about the prior? Intel says Damaris is aboard Ori 1. Fire Team Majestic draws that honor. Your mission is to neutralize Damaris and plant your nuke. Prior powers or not, he's still biological. Shoot him until he stops moving, then shoot him some more. Questions? Just one, another Spartan said. Are we sure these ring transporters will work? Because beaming onto an enemy ship in combat sounds like a great way to end up scattered across space at the molecular level. Roland's avatar appeared above Palmer's datapad. I've adapted our systems to interface with Ori ring technology. It's not elegant, but it works. Probably. 73% confidence. 73. The Spartan sounded incredulous. Would you prefer I lie and say 90? Roland replied. This is experimental technology cobbled together in 30 minutes. 73% is honestly pretty good given the circumstances. Palmer smiled grimly. Spartans have operated on worse odds. Besides, the alternative is letting 3 Ori ships destroy Infinity and continue their crusade unopposed. I'll take 73% over certain genocide any day. TLC entered the hangar, his presence commanding immediate attention from the assembled Spartans. The Jaffa warrior carried a Tauri P-90 alongside his traditional staff weapon, an incongruous combination that somehow worked. Commander Palmer, Captain Lasky has granted permission for me to accompany Fire Team Majestic. I have faced priors in combat before. My experience may prove valuable. Palmer evaluated him, noting the warrior's bearing, the scars visible on his forehead where his gold symbiote pouch had once been, the absolute confidence in his stance. Can you keep up with Spartans in combat? TLC raised an eyebrow. I have served with SG-1 for 10 years, facing enemies that would challenge even your enhanced warriors. I believe I will manage, Commander Palmer. Fair enough. Majestic, TLC is your local guide. He knows prior tactics and ship layouts. Use him. Palmer checked her chronometer. 2 minutes to weapons range. Mount up. The Spartans moved to transport positions, designated areas in the hangar where Roland had installed hastily modified ring transporter pads. They stood in formation, weapons ready, armor sealed, looking like ancient Spartan warriors updated for the far future. Which, Palmer reflected, was exactly what they were. 30 seconds to weapons range, Roland announced in the CIC. The tactical display showed the 3 Ori ships closing, their formation spreading to enable multiple firing angles. It was good tactics: prevent the enemy from concentrating fire, enable crossfire situations, maximize damage potential. Lasky had seen similar formations before. The Covenant had used them at Sigma Octanus 4. Odyssey and Daedalus, execute pattern Delta 7. Flanking positions, maximum harassment. Draw their attention but don't commit to direct engagement. Your job is to keep them busy while we line up kill shots. Understood, Infinity, Colonel Emerson replied from the Odyssey. We'll give them something to think about. The BC-304s broke formation, their sleeker profiles darting toward flanking positions. The Ori ships tracked them but didn't break formation. They were focused on the larger threat, the massive UNSC vessel that had killed their sister ship. Weapons range in 5 seconds, Tactical reported. Mac cannons charged and ready. Lasky watched the countdown. At this range, the Ori would see Infinity's Mac rounds coming, would have precious seconds to evade or strengthen shields. But 3 targets meant 3 opportunities. And the Ori's formation, while tactically sound for energy weapons, left them exposed to kinetic strikes. Fire, Lasky ordered. All 4 Mac cannons. Target Ori 2. The Infinity shuddered as 4 3,000-ton projectiles launched simultaneously, magnetic coils accelerating them to 4% of light speed in less than a second. The rounds crossed 50,000 kilometers in 12 seconds, fast enough that the Ori barely had time to register the threat before impact. But this time, the Ori were ready. Sir, Ori 2 is reinforcing forward shields. Roland shouted. They're channeling power from their weapon systems to shield strength. The Mac rounds hit a wall of golden energy that flared brilliant against the darkness. 3 rounds punched through, their kinetic energy overwhelming the shield's dispersion capability. But the 4th round deflected, its trajectory altered just enough to miss the hull and continue into deep space. Damage assessment? Lasky demanded. Ori 2 has sustained hits to forward sections. Hull breaches detected, but their main systems are intact. Captain, they adapted. They saw what we did to the Ver Agar and adjusted their shield modulation. Damn. The Ori were learning. All 3 ships are firing, Tactical screamed. 3 golden beams of divine energy lanced across space, converging on Infinity's forward sections. The ship's Forerunner-enhanced shields absorbed the initial impact, but the sustained bombardment began eating through defensive layers like acid through armor. Shields at 72% and falling. Roland reported. They're concentrating fire, trying to overwhelm our defenses. Evasive maneuvers, Lasky ordered. Don't let them maintain a sustained lock. Helm, pattern Whiskey 3, random vector changes, keep them guessing. Infinity's massive bulk rotated, her engines firing in sequences that would have torn apart a lesser ship. The golden beams tracked her movement, but at 50,000 kilometers, even a few degrees of course change meant the beams had to traverse significant distances. Infinity was bleeding energy from her shields, but she was buying time. Mac cannons recharged, Tactical reported. Ready to fire. Target Ori 1. 4 rounds, synchronized. Lasky watched the tactical display. And tell the Spartan teams to prepare for boarding. This is about to get messy. On Ori 1's bridge, Prior Damaris felt the Infinity's resistance with growing frustration. The ship was more maneuverable than its size suggested, and its shields were holding far better than anticipated. Maintain fire, he commanded. The Ori's blessing will prevail. No shield can stand against divine. The proximity alarm shrieked. Prior, Incoming projectiles. Multiple contacts. 4 Mach rounds slammed into Ori 1's shields. The ship rocked violently, the bridge lighting flickering as power systems struggled to compensate. Damaris caught himself on his staff, feeling the impact through the deck plating. Status. Shields at 40%. Forward sections damaged. They're firing solid projectiles at impossible velocities, our energy dispersion is ineffective. Damaris snarled. Crude kinetic weapons should not threaten vessels blessed by the Ori. But crude or not, they were punching through divine shields like they were nothing. Redirect all auxiliary power to shields. And bring us closer, within 10,000 kilometers. At that range, our weapons will overwhelm their defenses before they can fire again. The 3 Ori ships accelerated, closing the distance with predatory purpose. Their beams hammered Infinity's shields, golden fire meeting Forerunner energy barriers in a collision of incompatible technologies. The human ship was powerful, yes. But 3 versus 1, the mathematics favored the Ori. Damaris smiled. Victory was inevitable. As it always was. Then Infinity's ventral bays opened, and missiles began streaming out by the hundreds. What? Damaris watched the tactical display as 350 missile pods unleashed their payloads. Archer missiles, nuclear-tipped, maneuverable, and targeting all 3 Ori ships simultaneously. Evasive action. Shoot them down. The Ori ship's point defense systems activated, beam weapons swatting missiles from space. But there were too many, coming from too many vectors. 20 missiles broke through Ori 1's defensive fire and detonated against the shields, nuclear fireballs blooming in silent fury. Ori 2 and Ori 3 fared worse. Without concentrated point defense, 40 missiles each reached their targets. The Ori ships vanished behind walls of nuclear fire, their shields flaring to maximum as they absorbed megaton after megaton of destructive force. When the flames cleared, all 3 ships were still intact. But their shields were failing. Shields at 18%. Ori 1's tactical officer reported. Ori 2 reports 12%. Ori 3 is down to 9%. Damaris felt something cold settle in his chest. Fear. These humans were systematically dismantling divine vessels with crude weapons and tactical precision. The Ori had sent 3 ships to crush 1 heretic vessel, and instead they were being picked apart. All ships, close to transporter range, he ordered. We'll ring boarding parties onto their ship, take the bridge, N. Prior. An officer's voice cracked with panic. Energy signatures aboard our ship. Unknown technology activating in multiple sections, we have intruders. In 3 locations throughout Ori 1's interior, Spartan fire team Majestic materialized in rings of white light, their armor's active camouflage immediately engaging. TLC appeared beside them, P-90 raised, his enhanced senses immediately cataloging threats. On Ori 2 and Ori 3, fire teams Crimson and Castle appeared simultaneously, 45 Spartans total now aboard 3 enemy capital ships in the middle of a space battle. The mission was simple, reach the reactors, plant the nukes, and get out. But between them and those objectives stood 200 fanatical soldiers per ship, internal defenses, and the most powerful prior in the Ori's arsenal. Commander Palmer's voice crackled through Majestic's comms. All teams, sound off. Report insertion status. Majestic, insertion successful. We've got contact, engaging hostiles. Crimson, we're in. Moving to Objective Alpha. Castle here. No resistance yet, but we're hearing alarms. They know we're here. In the CIC, Lasky watched the tactical overlay showing Spartan positions inside the Ori ships. Roland, status on Mach cannons. 15 seconds to recharge. But Captain, our shields are down to 48%. Another sustained barrage and they'll start hitting hull. Then we don't give them time for another barrage. The moment Machs are charged, we fire everything at Ori 3. Kill one ship, even the odds. Lasky leaned forward, watching 60 Spartans fight their way through the enemy ships while Infinity dueled 3 Ori vessels simultaneously. The Battle of P4X 639 had reached its critical phase. And in the next few minutes, they would either achieve impossible victory or die trying. Just like the war against the Covenant. Just like humanity always fought. On the knife's edge, where the only choices were victory or extinction. Spartan Gabriel Thorne dropped the first converted soldier with a 3-round burst to center mass, his MA-5D assault rifle barely making a sound in the Ori ship's corridor. The enemy had been running toward the intruder alert, religious fervor in his eyes, a staff weapon charging. Now he was just a corpse. Contact left. Spartan Hoya called out, his battle rifle cracking as 2 more soldiers rounded the corner. They fell before they could fire. Fire Team Majestic moved through Ori 1's corridors with practiced efficiency, for Spartans in Mjolnir armor, moving like armored wraiths, their active camouflage flickering as they killed. TLC kept pace behind them, his Jaffa warrior training evident in every movement. This ship's layout is similar to gold vessels I have infiltrated, TLC said, his P-90 dropping another converted soldier. The reactor will be in the lower decks, protected by the most loyal converts. And Prior Damaris will likely move to intercept us. Let him come, Thorne said grimly. The longer he focuses on us, the less he focuses on Infinity. The ship shuddered, another Mac round hitting the shields. Through the hull, they could hear the stressed metal groaning, feel the energy discharges as systems overloaded. Ori 1 was taking a beating, and her crew knew it. Majestic, this is Crimson Lead, came a voice over the tactical channel. We're encountering heavy resistance on Ori 2. They've got barricades set up, looks like they were expecting boarding actions. Copy that, Crimson. Push through. Infinity needs those reactors down now. The corridor opened into a larger chamber, some kind of assembly area with raised platforms and religious iconography covering the walls. And waiting in the center, staff planted before him, eyes glowing with terrible power, stood Prior Damaris. Heretics, the prior intoned, his voice resonating with borrowed divinity. You defile this sacred vessel with your presence. You will kneel before the Ori, or you will burn. We'll take option 3, Thorne said, raising his rifle. Damaris's hand swept forward, an invisible force slammed into the Spartans like a physical blow. Thorne flew backward, his 7-foot armored frame lifted and thrown 15 feet. Hoya crashed into a bulkhead. The other 2 Spartans stumbled but held position, opening fire. Assault rifle rounds sparked off an invisible barrier inches from Damaris's body, a telekinetic shield deflecting ballistic weapons like they were insects. Your crude weapons cannot harm those blessed by the Ori. Damaris advanced, his staff beginning to glow. You will serve as examples to all who. TLC's staff weapon blast hit him square in the chest. The energy discharge was different from the assault rifles, a concentrated plasma bolt that punched through the telekinetic barrier and sent Damaris reeling backward. The prior's robe smoked, his chest showing burned flesh beneath. Indeed, TLC said calmly, firing again. Priors are powerful. But they are not invincible. Damaris screamed in rage and pain, his hands sweeping outward. A wave of force rippled through the chamber, sending all 5 warriors sprawling. The prior's eyes blazed brighter, his wounds already beginning to heal with accelerated regeneration. You dare strike a holy emissary? You will suffer for. Thorne's grenade landed at Damaris's feet. The prior looked down, realization dawning too late. The fragmentation grenade detonated, shrapnel tearing into his legs and lower torso. Enhanced durability or not, flesh couldn't withstand high-velocity metal fragments at point-blank range. Damaris collapsed, blood spreading beneath him, his concentration shattered. The glowing staff fell from his hands, clattering on the deck. Majestic was on him in seconds, weapons trained on the wounded prior. He looked up at them, incomprehension warring with agony in his eyes. Impossible, he gasped. The Ori, blessed me. I cannot fall to heretics. You're not falling to heretics, Thorne said, his rifle's barrel inches from Damaris's head. You're falling to humanity. And we don't kneel to gods. He fired 3 rounds. The Prior's enhanced skull stopped the first 2, but the third punched through. Damaris slumped, his glowing eyes dimming to nothing, his connection to the Ori severed permanently. TLC nodded with grim satisfaction. Indeed. Well done, Spartan Thorne. Command, this is majestic. Prior neutralized. Moving to primary objective. In Infinity's CIC, the tactical display showed all 3 Spartan teams advancing deeper into their target vessels. But the cost was mounting. Crimson reports 2 casualties, Roland announced. 1 Kia from prior energy attack, 1 wounded but mobile. Castle reports heavy resistance, they're pinned down 3 decks above their objective. Lasky watched the battle unfold across multiple levels, his ship dueling 3 Ori vessels in space while his ground forces fought through those same ships' interiors. It was controlled chaos, the kind of multi-domain warfare that had defined the Covenant War. MAC cannons recharged, tactical reported. Target locked on Ori 3. Fire. Full barrage. 4 MAC rounds launched, crossing 30,000 kilometers in 7 seconds. Ori 3 had been focusing fire on the Deadless, trying to eliminate the harassment from the smaller Earth ship. The mothership's shields were depleted, her point defense distracted. The rounds hit her amidships without opposition. At relativistic velocities, the kinetic energy transfer was catastrophic. The first round punched clean through the ship, entering the port side and exiting starboard in a spray of vaporized metal and atmosphere. The second hit the reactor section, not a direct hit on the core, but close enough. The resulting explosion tore Ori 3 apart from the inside out. Nuclear fire bloomed as containment failed, the ship's own power source becoming its executioner. The elegant hull fragmented, pieces spinning away in all directions, internal atmospheres venting in crystalline clouds. Secondary explosions rippled along the length of the dying vessel as power conduits overloaded and ammunition stores detonated. Spartan Fire Team Castle had 5 seconds warning. Castle, emergency extraction now. Palmer's voice screamed through the comms. Ship is breaking up, get to the transport coordinates. Copy, moving, contact R6, the transmission dissolved into static and weapons fire. Roland's avatar flickered with distress. Captain, I'm trying to lock onto Castle's transponders, but the ship's structural collapse is causing interference. I can't get a clean transport signal. Lasky felt his jaw tighten. 15 Spartans aboard that ship. 15 elite warriors about to be consumed in a nuclear fireball because he'd given the order to fire. Keep trying. Get any survivors out. On the tactical display, Ori 3's icon flashed red, then disappeared entirely. Where a 600-meter warship had been, now only expanding debris remained. 2 Ori ships left. But at terrible cost. Castle lead, do you copy? Palmer's voice carried barely controlled desperation. Any Castle personnel, respond. Silence. Then, crackling through heavy interference, is Castle 4, trapped in engineering section, ship breaking up around us, 13 Kia, 2 of us left. Coordinates locked. Roland shouted. Transporting now. 2 Spartans materialized in Infinity's hangar bay, their armor scorched and damaged, one carrying the other in a fireman's carry. Behind them, visible through the hangar's atmospheric shield, Ori 3's reactor exploded in a final brilliant flash. 13 dead. 2 survived. That was the math of war against superior forces. But Ori 3 was eliminated, and the odds had shifted. On Ori 1's bridge, the tactical officer's voice cracked with panic. Prior Damaris is not responding. The Ver Iska is destroyed. Intruders are still aboard, they're approaching the reactor level. The docile voice echoed through the ship's communication systems, broadcast directly from Celestis across intergalactic distances. Retreat. The cost is too high. Fall back to the Supergate. We cannot abandon. You have your orders. Ori 1 and Ori 2 broke off their attack, their beams ceasing fire as they executed emergency turns. The ships accelerated away from Infinity, heading back toward the Supergate at maximum velocity. But they weren't fast enough. They're running, Roland reported. Sir, Majestic and Crimson are still aboard those ships. If they transit the Supergate. All teams, abort mission. Lasky ordered. Get to transport coordinates immediately. We're pulling you out. Thorn and Majestic were already running, sprinting through Ori 1's corridors as the ship's engines roared to full power. Behind them, converted soldiers gave pursuit, staff weapons firing wildly. TLC turned mid-stride, his P-90 cutting down 3 pursuers without breaking momentum. Majestic, approaching transport zone. Thorn gasped. 30 seconds. Crimson is at extraction point, another voice reported. But we've got hostiles closing, need immediate transport. Transporting Crimson now, Roland said. 15 Spartans vanished from Ori 2 in rings of white light, reappearing in Infinity's hangar. Several collapsed immediately, their armor breached and bleeding from wounds. Majestic? Palmer demanded. 10 seconds. Thorn skidded into the designated chamber, Majestic forming up around him. TLC arrived last, his staff weapon firing one final blast down the corridor. We're in position, transport now. The white rings descended. And failed. What? Roland's voice carried panic. Their ship is transitioning to hyperspace. The dimensional interference is blocking the transport signal, I can't get a lock. On Ori 1's bridge, the tactical officer smiled grimly as the Supergate's event horizon filled the viewscreen. Entering wormhole in 5 seconds. The intruders will be trapped aboard when we return to Celestis. But in the engineering section 3 decks below, Spartan Thorn had already assessed their situation and made the only choice available. Change of plans, he said, pulling the Havoc tactical nuke from his pack. We're not getting off this ship. But we can still complete the mission. He looked at his team, at TLC, and saw understanding in their eyes. Majestic, it's been an honor. TLC, tell General Landry and SG-1 that. Wait. TLC grabbed Thorn's arm, his enhanced senses detecting something. Escape pods. Goa'uld vessels, and their Ori derivatives, carry escape pods throughout their superstructure. If we can reach one and launch before they enter the Supergate. Thorn checked his HUD, scanning the ship's layout that Roland had provided. There, 2 decks down, an auxiliary bay with what appeared to be small craft. Move. Double time. Majestic ran, abandoning stealth for pure speed. Converted soldiers appeared in their path and died, cut down without mercy. The ship shook around them as Ori 1 approached the Supergate's event horizon. They reached the bay, 6 small, elegant craft designed for evacuating crew during emergencies. Thorn didn't hesitate, his armored fist smashing through the control panel. The nearest pod's door irised open. Everybody in, now. 5 Spartans and 1 Jaffa warrior crowded into a space designed for 3, armor scraping against bulkheads. Thorn slammed his fist on the launch controls, and the pod shot out of Ori 1's hull at maximum acceleration, its tiny engines screaming. Through the viewport, they watched Ori 1 enter the Supergate's event horizon, the golden ship vanishing into the wormhole back to the origin galaxy. The pod tumbled through space, its emergency beacon broadcasting on all frequencies. Majestic to Infinity, Thorn transmitted. We're in an Ori escape pod, free of the ship. Request immediate pickup. Copy that, Majestic. Palmer's voice carried palpable relief. You scared the hell out of us. Pelican is en route. In the CIC, Lasky let out a breath he'd been holding. Status: 2 Ori ships retreated through the Supergate, Roland reported. Ver Iska destroyed with all hands. Prior Damaris confirmed Kia. Fireteam Castle, 13 dead, 2 recovered. Fireteam Crimson, 1 dead, 3 wounded, 11 recovered. Fireteam Majestic, 0 casualties, all personnel accounted for and recovering. Lasky studied the tactical display. 1 Ori ship destroyed. 2 forced to retreat. Prior Damaris dead. P4X 639 saved. But 13 Spartans killed, 13 elite warriors whose training had cost millions and whose combat experience was irreplaceable. Casualty report for the whole engagement. Infinity, minor damage, shield generator strained but functional. Odyssey, moderate damage, 1 section decompressed. Deadless, light damage. Spartan losses, 13 Kia, 7 wounded. Total UNSC casualties including crew, 19 dead, 32 wounded. 19 dead to save 45,000 civilians and kill an Ori ship. The mathematics were favorable. But mathematics didn't capture the weight of those 19 names on the casualty list, 19 families that would receive notification, 19 empty bunks in Infinity's crew quarters. Sir, Carter's voice came through from the Odyssey. I'm reading massive data transmissions from the retreating Ori ships back through the Supergate. They're reporting everything to Celestis, our capabilities, tactics, the Spartans' effectiveness, Mac cannon performance. They're going to adapt. Let them, Lasky said. We'll adapt faster. Roland, compile full combat data, every sensor reading, every tactical decision, every weapon performance metric. I want a complete after-action report within 6 hours. We're going to study this battle, learn from it, and refine our doctrine. Daniel Jackson's face appeared on the communication display, transmitted from P4X 639's surface. Behind him, Karas and the village elders stood watching the sky where fire and death had raged minutes before. Captain Lasky, the people here, they want to thank you. They're calling Infinity the shield of the free peoples. Karas says her world owes you a debt that can never be repaid. Tell Karas that we don't want payment, Dr. Jackson. We want the same thing she does, a galaxy where humans can choose their own path without gods dictating their faith. Lasky paused. But we could use supplies. Food, medical materials, anything she can spare. Infinity carries 17,000 people, and our supply lines to our home universe are non-existent. I'll ask, Daniel said, smiling slightly. Something tells me she'll be generous. The communication ended. In the CIC, the bridge crew began the process of standing down from combat stations, damage control teams assessing the ship, medical teams treating the wounded. TLC appeared on the bridge, escorted by Spartans, his armor scorched but his bearing unshaken. He approached Lasky's command chair and inclined his head with deep respect. Captain Lasky, I have fought many battles alongside many warriors. The Spartans of the UNSC are worthy of their ancient namesake. And you, Captain, have proven yourself a tactician of considerable skill. The Ori will not forget this defeat. Good, Lasky said. I want them to remember. I want every prior, every mothership, every converted soldier to know that humanity fights back. That we don't kneel. He stood, fatigue settling into his bones. TLC, tell General Landry that we need a strategic conference. The Ori are going to adapt their tactics based on what they learned today. We need to stay ahead of them. Indeed. I will relay your message. TLC paused. Captain, in my years fighting false gods, I have learned that the gods we create in our minds are far more dangerous than any true divinity. The Ori claim godhood, but they bleed and die like any mortal. You have proven this today. That knowledge will spread. As TLC departed, Palmer approached, her face grim beneath her helmet. Sir, I need to inform the families of the castle casualties. 13 letters to write. 13 reasons to hate this war. I'll write them with you, Commander. They died under my command, following my orders. Their families deserve to hear from both of us. Lasky looked at the tactical display one last time, at P4X 639 safe below, at the debris field where Ori 3 had died. But Sarah, those 13 saved 45,000. In the calculus of war, that's a victory. We just have to live with the cost. Palmer nodded slowly. Yes, sir. We always do. Through Infinity's forward viewports, P4X 639 rotated peacefully, a world saved from conversion or death. On the surface, 45,000 people looked up at the stars and saw humanity's warship standing guard, a fortress against the darkness. The UNSC Infinity had fought its first major battle in this new universe. Had killed a prior, destroyed an Ori mothership, and forced 2 others to retreat. The Ori war had shifted. The balance of power had changed. And in the temple city of Celestis, the Ori themselves took notice of the humans from beyond their sight, and began planning their response. In the ancient database beneath Stargate Command, Dr. Daniel Jackson sat surrounded by holographic displays, his fingers dancing across the interface as he searched through millions of years of recorded knowledge. The ancients had left behind repositories of information across the galaxy, some accidental, some intentional, and this particular cache had been discovered on a planet devastated by the Ori. Beside him, Roland's avatar flickered into existence, adapting to the ancient technology with surprising ease. Dr. Jackson, I've been analyzing the linguistic patterns in these databases. The syntax structure is remarkably similar to something I encountered in Forerunner records. Daniel looked up sharply. What do you mean, similar? Not identical, but parallel. Like 2 cultures that developed independently but arrived at similar philosophical and technological conclusions. Roland pulled up comparative data streams. Look at this. The ancient term for ascension uses a root structure that translates roughly to elevation through understanding. In Forerunner language, the concept they called the mantle uses almost identical linguistic construction, guardianship through comprehension. That's actually disturbing. Daniel leaned forward, his academic curiosity overriding his exhaustion. The ancients ascended to a higher plane of existence. The Forerunners believed they had a responsibility to shepherd younger species toward advancement, Roland finished. They called it the mantle of responsibility. And when they failed, when the flood consumed their civilization, they activated the Halo Array. 7 ringworlds designed to eliminate all sentient life in the galaxy to starve the flood of hosts. Daniel felt ice settle in his stomach. They committed genocide. They committed necessary extinction, Roland corrected quietly. The flood was a parasite that consumed entire species, turning them into extensions of a collective intelligence. The Forerunners fought for millennia, lost billions, and finally realized they couldn't win. So they activated the rings, killed everything, and left the galaxy empty. A reset button for galactic civilization. And the ancients? Daniel pulled up records he'd studied dozens of times. They faced a plague that nearly destroyed them. They ascended en masse to escape it. Different solution, same desperation. But here's what concerns me, Dr. Jackson. Roland highlighted a particular section of ancient text. I've been cross-referencing Forerunner stellar cartography with the gate network addresses Colonel Carter provided. The ancients built stargates across this galaxy, the Milky Way. The Forerunners operated primarily in what they called the Orion Arm. Daniel stared at the data. That's the same galactic region. Different names, but the same approximate location. Exactly. And the timeline is wrong. According to Forerunner records, they existed approximately 100,000 years ago. The ancients built the Stargate network millions of years ago. They shouldn't overlap. Unless they're not from the same timeline, Daniel said slowly. Captain Lasky said Infinity crossed universes through damaged slipspace. What if the Forerunners and ancients are the same species, just from different universal branches? Parallel evolution that led to nearly identical outcomes. Roland's avatar flickered with what might have been excitement or concern. That would explain the linguistic similarities, the technological parallels, even the philosophical alignment. Both species achieved incredible advancement. Both faced existential threats. Both made choices that shaped their galaxies. And both left weapons behind, Daniel finished. The Halo array in your universe. The Dakara weapon in ours. Planet killers built by advanced civilizations that realized some threats require absolute solutions. The implications settled over them like a shroud. If the Forerunners and Ancients were parallel versions of the same species, then the technologies they'd left behind might be compatible. The knowledge stored in ancient repositories might unlock Forerunner systems, or vice versa. And the weapons, the terrible, civilization-ending weapons both species had built, might work across universal boundaries. Dr. Jackson, Roland said carefully, Captain Lasky needs to know about this. If Ancient and Forerunner technology can interface, it might give us advantages against the Ori. But it also means. It means we have access to weapons that could destroy galaxies, Daniel interrupted. The Ancients hid their most dangerous technology for good reason. The Dakara device could restructure matter on a planetary scale. If that's compatible with Forerunner systems, if we could combine Ancient and Forerunner knowledge. He trailed off, staring at the holographic displays showing two civilizations separated by universes but united by their achievements and their failures. We need to be very careful, Daniel said finally. The Ancients ascended partly because they were terrified of what they'd become. The power they wielded, the responsibility it carried. If we start combining technologies from two separate branches of the most advanced species either universe has ever seen, we might become something neither universe is prepared for, Roland finished. In Stargate Command's main briefing room, General Landry assembled the command staff for post-battle analysis. Captain Lasky sat across from him, Commander Palmer at his side. Colonel Carter stood at the head of the table, tactical displays showing the engagement from multiple angles. SG-1 occupied the other side, Mitchell, TLC, Vala, and Daniel, who just arrived from the ancient database looking troubled. Let's start with the good news, Landry said. We won. 1 Ori mothership destroyed, 2 forced to retreat, and Prior Damaris is dead. P4X-639 is secure, and 45,000 civilians are alive because of this fleet's actions. That's a victory by any measure. But at significant cost, Lasky added. 13 Spartans killed, 19 total casualties. And the Ori now know everything about our capabilities. They'll adapt, change tactics, potentially accelerate their crusade to compensate for this setback. Carter pulled up sensor data from the battle. Captain Lasky's assessment is correct. The retreating Ori ships transmitted full combat telemetry back through the Supergate. They know about MAC cannons, about Spartan boarding operations, about Infinity's shield strength and maneuverability. Next time they engage us, they'll come prepared. So we adapt faster, Mitchell said. That's what we've been doing for 10 years against the Goa'uld, the replicators, the Ori. Enemy learns, we learn faster. Agreed, Lasky said. But we need to understand what we're really facing. Roland has been analyzing Ori technology and ancient databases. The parallels are concerning. He nodded to a display where Roland's avatar appeared. Ladies and gentlemen, I've discovered something significant. The Ori and the Ancients are the same species, or were, before both ascended. They originated from the same galaxy, split due to philosophical differences, and spread across separate galaxies. The Ancients came here, built the Stargate network, and eventually ascended. The Ori remained in the origin galaxy and ascended through a different method, accumulating power through worship. We knew this, Vala said. The Book of Origin tells the story. The Ultrans fled from the Ori, settled in the Milky Way. But what you didn't know, Roland interrupted, is that in my universe, there was another species with nearly identical advancement. The Forerunners. They built megastructures, seeded life across the galaxy, and believed they had a sacred duty to shepherd younger species. The linguistic patterns, technological signatures, and philosophical frameworks between ancients and forerunners are too similar to be coincidence. Daniel leaned forward. We think the ancients and forerunners might be the same species from different universal branches. Parallel evolution leading to parallel outcomes. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Are you saying, Carter said slowly, that ancient technology and forerunner technology might be compatible? Potentially, yes, Roland confirmed. I've already seen it in practice. Infinity's slipspace drive uses forerunner principles, but it interacted with the Stargate, which is ancient technology. The dimensional mechanics shouldn't have been compatible, but they were. As if both technologies recognize each other on some fundamental level. Landry's expression grew grave. What does this mean for our tactical situation? It means we might be able to use ancient weapons against the Ori more effectively than we thought, Lasky said. Colonel Carter mentioned the Sangral, Merlin's weapon designed to kill ascended beings. If we can find it and combine it with forerunner targeting systems, we might be able to deploy it with precision the ancients never achieved. It also means, Daniel added carefully, that some of the ancients' most dangerous weapons might be accessible through forerunner interfaces. The Dakra device. The Ataro device. Technology the ancients deliberately hid because it was too powerful to be trusted. TLC raised an eyebrow. You suggest we might accidentally unlock weapons of mass destruction while attempting to integrate technologies? That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Daniel said. The ancients were terrified of their own power by the end. They built weapons that could reshape reality, and then they hid them because they knew younger species, like us, would use them without understanding the consequences. Vala snorted. Bit late for that concern. We've been raiding ancient facilities for years. How is this different? Because now we have someone who understands forerunner technology, Daniel said, gesturing at Roland. An AI with millions of years of forerunner knowledge encoded in his systems. If he can translate ancient databases through a forerunner lens, we might unlock technology that both the ancients and forerunners decided was too dangerous to use. And we might need exactly that level of power to stop the Ori, Mitchell countered. They're ascended beings with an entire galaxy's worth of worshippers feeding them power. Every planet they convert makes them stronger. If we don't find something that can hurt them permanently, they'll eventually overwhelm us through sheer attrition. Landry looked at Lasky. Captain, what's your assessment? You've fought existential wars before. Is combining ancient and forerunner technology worth the risk? Lasky was quiet for a moment, thinking of the Halo Array, of the Covenant's religious crusade to activate it, of the billions who would have died if Master Chief hadn't stopped them. Technology powerful enough to sterilize galaxies, built by a species that thought it had no choice. General, the Forerunners built the Halo Array as a last resort. They fought the Flood for thousands of years, lost entire star systems, and finally realized they couldn't win conventionally. So they built a weapon that killed everything, Flood, Forerunners, every sentient species in the galaxy. Then they fired it, committed species-wide suicide, and left the galaxy empty. He met Landry's eyes. The ancients built similar weapons. Different designs, same purpose, ensure that if they fell, they could take their enemies with them. That kind of power doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about good intentions or just causes. It just destroys. So yes, combining those technologies is incredibly dangerous. But the alternative is letting the Ori convert or exterminate every human in this galaxy. And I've seen what happens when you let religious fanatics operate unopposed. The Covenant glassed entire worlds in the name of faith. So we use the weapons, Mitchell said. Find the Sangral, enhance it with Forerunner tech, and kill the Ori before they kill us. Not quite, Carter interjected. The Sangral is theoretical. Merlin designed it based on ancient knowledge, but he never finished it. SG-1 has been searching for the components for months. Even if we find them, even if we can assemble the weapon, we don't know if it will work. And Captain Lasky is right, ancient weapons don't discriminate. The Sangral might kill the Ori, but it could also affect other ascended beings. The ancients themselves. Oma Desala. Even potentially humans who've ascended and descended, like Daniel. Daniel nodded. I've died twice and ascended once. If the Sangral targets ascended beings indiscriminately, it might kill me too. Or anyone with ancient gene expression. Or anyone who's been exposed to ascension energy. We don't know the parameters. Then we test it, Palmer said bluntly. We find the weapon, we test it on a controlled target, and we refine it until it does exactly what we need. That's how the UNSC developed every weapon system: prototype, test, iterate, deploy. That's assuming we find it at all, Vala said. Merlin hid the Sangral's components across multiple planets, protected them with puzzles and traps, and made sure only someone worthy, whatever that means, could access them. We've been chasing clues for months with minimal success. Then we accelerate the search, Lasky said. Infinity has sensors that can detect ancient technology from orbit. We have Spartans who can breach fortifications the ancients built to last millennia. And we have Roland, who might be able to solve ancient puzzles faster than any human because he thinks like the species that built them. Roland's avatar flickered. Captain, I appreciate the confidence, but ancient and Forerunner philosophies diverged significantly. The Forerunners believed in direct control, in shepherding younger species through structured advancement. The ancients believed in non-interference, in allowing species to develop naturally. Their security systems reflect that, they're designed to test worthiness, not to be broken by force. Then we prove we're worthy, Lasky said. We show the ancient systems that we're fighting to protect sentient life from religious extremism, that we're willing to sacrifice everything to stop the Ori's crusade. If that's not worthy by ancient standards, I don't know what is. Landry stood, his decision made. Here's what we're going to do. SG-1 continues the search for the Sangral with Infinity's support. Captain Lasky, you'll provide orbital reconnaissance and Spartan teams as needed. Colonel Carter, you'll work with Roland to analyze ancient Forerunner compatibility and identify any weapons or technology that might give us tactical advantages. He looked around the table. Dr. Jackson, you'll continue researching ancient databases, but with extreme caution. If you find anything that suggests weapons of mass destruction, you report it immediately before accessing it. We're not accidentally activating another Dakra device or worse. What about the Ori? Mitchell asked. They're not going to sit idle while we search for ancient superweapons. We defend what we can, Landry said. Infinity, Odyssey, Daedalus, and Apollo form a rapid response fleet. When the Ori attack, we hit them hard, bloody their noses, and buy time for the Sangral search. Every Ori ship we destroy, every prior we kill, is one less obstacle between us and ending this war. TLC inclined his head. A sound strategy, General Landry. The Ori believe themselves invincible. We must continue to prove them wrong at every opportunity. Agreed, Lasky said. But we also need to prepare for escalation. The Ori won't send 3 ships next time. They'll send 5, or 10, or however many it takes to overwhelm our defenses. We need to be ready. Carter pulled up star charts showing Ori-controlled territory, the red infection spreading across the galaxy like cancer. They're consolidating their gains. Fortifying conquered worlds, building temples, establishing permanent infrastructure. If we're going to push them back, we need to do it soon, before they become entrenched. One battle at a time, Colonel, Landry said. We've proven we can hurt them. Now we prove we can kill them. Permanently. He looked at Lasky. Captain, I know you didn't choose this war. You stumbled into it through an accident of dimensional physics. But I'm damn glad you're here. Infinity has changed the strategic balance more than any single asset since we got our first BC 304. General, the UNSC has always stood for one principle: protect humanity at all costs. That principle doesn't change just because we're in a different universe. Lasky stood. We'll find the Sangral. We'll kill the Ori. And we'll make sure no other worlds fall to their crusade. That's not just a mission, it's a promise. As the briefing concluded, Daniel caught Lasky's arm. Captain, can I speak with you privately? They moved to a side office. Daniel closed the door, his expression troubled. What Roland and I found in the ancient database, it's more than just technological compatibility. The ancients left warnings. Encoded messages about the dangers of combining certain technologies. They specifically cautioned against using Forerunner-level computational systems to decode ancient knowledge. Why? Lasky asked. Because the ancients believed some knowledge shouldn't be accessible to younger species. They encoded their most dangerous secrets in puzzles that required not just intelligence, but wisdom. Moral judgment. The ability to understand why certain technologies shouldn't exist, not just how to build them. Daniel pulled up a holographic display showing ancient text. This is from a repository we found on Proclarish Teonas, the ancients' first settlement in this galaxy. It's a warning left by an ancient named Janus, the same one who built time travel devices. He says, and I'm translating here, to those who follow, know that the path to godhood is paved with extinct species. We achieved wonders and committed atrocities in equal measure. Learn from our ascension what to pursue, and from our weapons what to avoid. Lasky studied the text. He's saying the ancients made mistakes. Built things they regretted. More than that. He's saying their technology is designed to be dangerous. That the very act of using it tests whether you're wise enough to know when not to use it. And if you fail that test, you become the next threat, Lasky finished. Like the Covenant. They found Forerunner technology, didn't understand it, and built an entire religion around misinterpreted instructions. Billions died because they thought activation codes were holy scriptures. Exactly. And now we're doing something similar, accessing ancient technology through Forerunner systems, bypassing the ethical safeguards the ancients built into their systems. We might unlock the Sangral, or we might unlock something far worse. Lasky looked at Daniel, seeing the weight of knowledge in the archaeologist's eyes. The man had ascended once, had touched the perspective of beings who existed beyond physical reality. He understood in ways Lasky couldn't what power corrupted, what wisdom cost. Dr. Jackson, what would you do? If you were commanding Infinity, leading this war, watching the Ori convert world after world, what choice would you make? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. I'd do exactly what you're doing. I'd search for the weapon, hope it works, and pray we're wise enough to stop before we become the very thing we're fighting. Because the alternative, letting the Ori win, is unthinkable. But Captain, I'd also stay vigilant. Watch for signs that we're crossing lines we can't uncross. And if we start becoming something the ancients would have feared. We pull back, Lasky said. No matter the cost. No matter how close we are to victory. Because winning by becoming monsters isn't winning at all. Daniel nodded slowly. You understand. Good. Because this war is going to test that principle more than you can imagine. They returned to the briefing room where SG-1 and Infinity's command staff were coordinating search patterns for Sangral components. On the displays, the galaxy rotated, red markers showing Ori territory, blue showing the Tauri Alliance, and scattered green points marking potential ancient facilities. Somewhere in that vast stellar map, Merlin had hidden a weapon to kill gods. And somewhere beyond the Supergate, those gods prepared their response to the upstart humans who dared resist divine will. The race had begun. Find the Sangral before the Ori crushed them, or watch humanity fall to another religious crusade. The UNSC Infinity had crossed universes and inherited a war. Now they would help end it, one way or another. The Ori temple ship Velinera emerged from the Supergate with divine purpose burning in its crystalline superstructure. Aboard the bridge, a figure materialized in radiant light, not a prior this time, but something far more dangerous. Adria, the Orisai. She was young, beautiful, with eyes that held the accumulated knowledge of the Ori themselves. Born of Vala Mal Doran and genetically engineered to be the Ori's physical representative in the Milky Way, Adria possessed powers that dwarfed even the most accomplished priors. She could manipulate matter with a thought, read minds across star systems, and channel the Ori's collective will with terrifying precision. Now she stood on the bridge of her mothership, studying tactical displays showing the humiliation at P4X 639. Prior Damaris dead. The Ver Iska destroyed. 2 ships forced to retreat by a single human vessel. Unacceptable, she said softly, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated with borrowed divinity. The Ori's crusade does not suffer defeat. We do not retreat. We do not compromise. She turned to her bridge crew, converted humans whose faith burned bright enough to serve directly under the Orisai. Send word through the Supergate. I require 6 motherships. We will find this infinity and demonstrate the price of heresy. Orisai, her tactical officer said hesitantly, the reports indicate this vessel possesses weapons unlike anything we've encountered. Kinetic projectiles at relativistic velocities. Our shields. Our shields were designed by the Ori themselves, Adria interrupted, her tone allowing no doubt. They are blessed by ascended beings. No crude projectile can overcome divine protection. The Ver Iska fell because Prior Damaris was overconfident, underestimated his enemy. I will not make that mistake. She pulled up sensor data from the battle, studying Infinity's tactics with a strategic mind that combined human cunning and Ori omniscience. They use mass at high velocity, simple physics. But our shields disperse energy, not momentum. That is the flaw. We must adapt our shield harmonics to create momentum barriers, not just energy barriers. That would require modifications to every Ori vessel. Then we begin immediately. The Ori have given me authority to reshape our crusade as necessary. If our technology must evolve to crush heretics, so be it. Adria's eyes glowed brighter. But technology alone will not defeat these humans. They possess something unexpected, will. Determination. The kind of defiance that comes from fighting against extinction. She had studied the transmissions, read the intercepted communications. The UNSC Infinity came from a universe where humanity had fought for 27 years against religious zealots called the Covenant. They had lost billions, lost planets, nearly lost everything. And yet they survived through tactical brilliance and absolute refusal to surrender. Adria smiled. They think they've fought holy war before. They think their experience fighting the Covenant prepares them for the Ori. How adorably naive. She gestured, and a holographic projection showed not just infinity, but Earth itself, the blue-green world from which both versions of humanity originated. The difference between the Covenant and the Ori is simple. The Covenant were believers pursuing false gods. We are the gods. And gods do not lose to mortals. Aboard Infinity, Roland's avatar materialized in the captain's ready room with urgent energy. Captain, I've finished analyzing the ancient database Daniel provided. You need to see this. Lasky looked up from tactical reports, immediately reading the concern in Roland's digital expression. What did you find? A planet. Designation Camelot by SG-1's records, official address P3X 474. The ancients built a research facility there, specifically, Merlin's last laboratory. According to these records, it's where he designed the Sangral before hiding its components. That's good news. Why do you look worried? Because the facility is protected by security systems that make Forerunner installations look welcoming. The ancients designed this place to test worthiness through a combination of physical challenges, intellectual puzzles, and moral dilemmas. It's not just about being smart or strong enough, it's about proving you deserve access to weapons that can kill gods. Roland pulled up schematics of the facility, a massive underground complex with multiple levels, each more lethal than the last. SG-1 has attempted to breach this facility twice. Both times they were forced to retreat by defenses that adapted to their tactics. Dr. Jackson theorizes that the security system is sentient, an ancient AI left to guard Merlin's most dangerous work. Can you interface with it? Lasky asked. AI to AI? Maybe. But Captain, here's the thing, Merlin didn't trust the other ancients with this knowledge. He definitely won't trust us. The facility is designed to kill anyone who approaches with military force or attempts technological infiltration. The only way in is to play by its rules. Which are? I don't know. The ancient database is deliberately vague. But based on Merlin's other work, his time travel devices, his transformation technology that turned him from ascended to human, I suspect the rules involve sacrifice. Proving you're willing to give up something precious for the greater good. Lasky considered. The UNSC had a long history of sacrifices, from Captain Keyes staying aboard the Pillar of Autumn to ensure Cortana escaped, to Noble Team holding the line during Reach's fall so the Autumn could launch. Sacrifice was woven into UNSC doctrine. Assemble SG-1 and a Spartan team. We're going to Camelot. Sir, this might not be a mission Spartans can complete through force. It might require. I know what it might require, Roland. But we're out of time. The Ori are adapting, and every day they grow stronger. If the Sangral is our best weapon, we retrieve it. Whatever the cost. 6 hours later, Infinity established orbit above P3X 474, a temperate world with rolling hills and ancient forests. On the surface, a massive stone structure rose from the landscape like a sleeping giant, its architecture mixing medieval aesthetics with ancient technology. The gate room at Stargate Command was crowded as SG-1 prepared for departure. Daniel adjusted his tactical vest, weapons feeling awkward on someone more comfortable with artifacts than assault rifles. Mitchell checked his P90 with practiced ease. Vala loaded magazines while humming cheerfully. TLC stood ready, his staff weapon a familiar weight. And beside them, Spartan Fire Team Majestic, Thorn, Hoya, Grant, Madsen, and DeMarco, stood in full Mjolnir armor, looking like mythological warriors brought forward through time. General Landry addressed them from the control room. SG-1, you've attempted this facility before. What should Captain Lasky's people expect? Daniel stepped forward. General, Camelot isn't just a building, it's a test. Merlin designed it to ensure only those worthy of wielding ultimate power could access the Sangral. Last time we were there, the facility presented us with impossible choices. Save civilians or complete the mission. Sacrifice team members or abandon the weapon. Every choice was designed to reveal character. And you failed? Thorne asked, not accusatory, just tactical assessment. We survived, Mitchell corrected. Whether we failed depends on your definition. We didn't retrieve the Sangral, but we didn't get anyone killed either. That felt like a win. This time we need to succeed, Lasky said, stepping through the gate room with Commander Palmer. The Ori are escalating. Roland's analysis suggests they're modifying their shields to counter Mac rounds. If we can't retrieve the Sangral soon, our tactical advantage evaporates. Captain Lasky, Carter said, appearing from the technical bay, I've prepared these. She held up small devices, ancient technology adapted with Forerunner components. Personal shield generators keyed to ancient energy signatures. They should protect you from the facility's automated defenses. But they won't protect you from the choices Camelot forces you to make. Lasky took one, attaching it to his tactical vest. Colonel, I've made hard choices before. Watched good people die because I ordered them into impossible situations. If Camelot wants to test my character, let it. I know who I am and what I'm fighting for. TLC inclined his head. Captain Lasky, you possess a warrior's resolve. But Camelot does not test warriors. It tests leaders. Those who would wield power over life and death. The ancients feared such power, even as they created it. Merlin's test will force you to confront not what you are willing to sacrifice, but what you are willing to become to achieve victory. The words hung in the air like a prophecy. Then I'll deal with that when it comes, Lasky said. Chevron 7, lock. Let's move. The Stargate activated, the event horizon stabilizing into its characteristic shimmering pool. SG-1 stepped through first, followed by the Spartans, then Lasky and Palmer. Roland's presence came through uploaded to Lasky's neural implant, able to perceive and analyze what the captain experienced. They emerged on Camelot's surface under twin suns, the ancient facility looming before them. Its walls were seamless stone covered in ancient script that glowed faintly with internal power. At the entrance, a massive door stood sealed, its surface showing no mechanism for opening. Daniel approached, reading the inscriptions aloud. Here lies the work of Merlin, who descended from grace to forge salvation. Enter if you dare, but know that salvation demands sacrifice, and power demands wisdom. Those who seek the weapon must prove themselves worthy not through strength, but through the choices they make when strength fails. Welcoming, Vala muttered. As Daniel finished reading, the door split down the center, ancient mechanisms grinding to life after millennia of silence. Beyond lay a corridor lit by bioluminescent panels, stretching into darkness. Roland? Lasky subvocalized. I'm detecting active systems throughout the facility. Sensors, defensive turrets, energy barriers. And Captain, I'm detecting something else. An intelligence. It's watching us. Analyzing. This AI has been waiting for millennia, and it's very interested in our Spartan friends. They entered, weapons raised, moving in tactical formation. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, circular, with a dozen doorways leading to different sections. In the center, a holographic projection materialized, taking humanoid form. It spoke in ancient, Roland translated in real time, "Welcome, travelers. I am the guardian of Merlin's legacy. You seek the Sangral, the weapon to end ascended tyranny. But before you may proceed, you must answer, why should I grant mortals access to power that terrifies immortals?" Daniel stepped forward. Because immortals, ascended beings, are using their power to enslave the galaxy. The Ori demand worship or deliver death. We're fighting to preserve choice, freedom, the right of sentient beings to determine their own path. Noble words, the Guardian said. But words are ephemeral. I require demonstration. You will face 3 trials. The first tests strength, can you overcome physical obstacles? The second tests wisdom, can you solve problems strength cannot answer? The third tests character, when faced with impossible choices, what do you sacrifice? The Guardian gestured, and 3 of the doorways lit up with different colors, red, blue, and green. Choose your path, Captain Thomas Lasky of the UNSC Infinity. Your choices here will determine not just whether you receive the Sangral, but whether you deserve it. Lasky studied the doorways, feeling the weight of 17,000 crew members depending on his decisions, of billions threatened by the Ori, of a war that could consume galaxies if they failed. We'll take all 3 trials simultaneously, he said. Split into teams. Cover more ground faster. The Guardian's holographic face showed something that might have been approval or amusement. Efficiency over caution. Interesting. Very well. But understand, these trials are designed to break those who attempt them. Many have entered Camelot. Few have left with their souls intact. We'll be fine, Mitchell said with more confidence than he felt. We've done impossible before. Then proceed, the Guardian said, and vanished. The team split, SG-1 taking the blue door for the wisdom trial, Fire Team Majestic taking the red door for the strength trial, and Lasky with Palmer taking the green door for the character trial. As they separated, none of them noticed the Guardian's parting words, whispered too quietly to hear but encoded in the facility's systems. The Sangreal awaits those willing to pay its price. But the price is always higher than mortals anticipate. The doors sealed behind them. The trials of Camelot had begun. In orbit, Infinity's sensors detected the first hyperspace window opening at the system's edge. Then another. Then 4 more simultaneously. "Captain, you need to see this," Roland's backup instance said from the CIC. 6 Ori motherships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're in attack formation. And sir, they're all broadcasting the same energy signature. The Orisai. Adria herself is leading this assault. Lieutenant Commander Sanders, left in command during Lasky's surface mission, felt ice settle in his stomach. 6 Ori ships. The Orisai. And Infinity's captain was underground on a planet's surface, potentially trapped in an ancient facility. "Battle stations," Sanders ordered. "Contact the Odyssey and Daedalus. We're going to need help. And someone get a message to Captain Lasky, we have incoming, and it's bad." But on Camelot's surface, deep within Merlin's ancient facility, communications were already blocked by ancient security systems. The teams were isolated, facing trials designed to break them. And above, 6 Ori motherships advanced with terrible purpose, carrying the Orisai's wrath and the Ori's vengeance. The Battle of Camelot was about to begin, fought simultaneously in space and within an ancient tomb of impossible choices. Through the green door, Captain Lasky and Commander Palmer entered a chamber that defied physics. The walls seemed to stretch infinitely upward, the floor glowed with bioluminescent circuits, and in the center stood 3 pedestals, each holding a holographic display. "Welcome to the trial of character," the Guardian's voice echoed through the space. "Here, you will face the reality of command, that victory often requires sacrifice, and the greatest sacrifices are those you must ask of others." The holographic displays activated, showing 3 simultaneous scenarios playing out in real time. The first showed the Infinity in orbit above Camelot, surrounded by 6 Ori motherships. Shields flaring under concentrated bombardment, hull breaches forming, crew sections decompressing. Sanders was on the bridge, desperately coordinating defense, but the math was brutal. 6 versus 1. Infinity was dying. The second showed SG-1 in their trial chamber, Daniel trapped behind an energy barrier with the ceiling slowly descending to crush him. Mitchell, Vala, and TLC stood at a control panel with a choice: redirect the barrier to save Daniel, but doing so would flood another chamber with radiation, killing hundreds of converted Ori soldiers imprisoned there as test subjects. The third showed Fire Team Majestic in a vast arena, facing an enemy that materialized from ancient technology, a construct designed to test Spartan combat capabilities to absolute limits. But the construct was adapting, learning from every attack, growing stronger. The Spartans could win, but only if they sacrificed one of their own to overload the construct's power core from the inside. 3 scenarios, the Guardian said. 3 impossible choices. You may save one, Captain Lasky. Choose. Palmer's fists clenched. This is sick. You're forcing us to choose who lives and who dies. I am forcing you to confront the reality you already live, the Guardian replied. As a captain, as a commander, you make these choices every battle. Which ship takes point? Which team gets the suicide mission? Which world do you defend when you cannot defend them all? The only difference here is that you must see the consequences of your choice immediately. Lasky stared at the displays, his mind racing through tactical calculations. Infinity needed him in orbit. SG-1 needed intervention to save Daniel. Majestic needed support to survive the construct. But he could only choose one. What happens to the others? He asked quietly. They face the consequences of your choice. If you save your ship, SG-1 faces their dilemma alone: Daniel dies or innocents die. Majestic fights without support, and likely loses members. If you save SG-1, your ship continues taking damage, and Majestic still fights alone. If you save Majestic, your ship and SG-1 both suffer. This isn't a test of character, Palmer said angrily. This is torture. Command is torture, the Guardian replied. Those who wield ultimate power must understand that every decision carries weight. Merlin descended from Ascension because he understood this, that to fight the Ori, he would have to make choices that would haunt him. Can you do the same, Captain Lasky? Lasky thought of Reach. Of the Pillar of Autumn escaping while Reach burned. Of noble teams sacrificing themselves so Cortana could reach the Autumn. Of every impossible choice that had defined the Human Covenant War. No, he said. The Guardian paused. Clarify. I said no. I refuse your test. Lasky turned to Palmer. Commander, this entire facility is an ancient AI's construct, right? It's showing us scenarios it thinks are happening. But Roland is monitoring all our teams. If there was a real emergency, he'd have found a way to contact us, security systems or not. Palmer's eyes widened. You think this is a simulation? That the Guardian is lying about these scenarios being real? I think the ancients were fond of elaborate tests, but they weren't cruel. Merlin wouldn't build a facility that murders people to test character, he'd build one that simulates murdering people. The trial isn't whether I choose correctly. It's whether I recognize the manipulation and refuse to play. The Guardian's holographic form materialized before them, its expression unreadable. Interesting. You believe this is deception? I believe the ancients understood something fundamental, that real character isn't revealed in impossible situations where every choice is wrong. It's revealed in how you respond to manipulation. Do you accept the false premise that you must choose who dies? Or do you reject it and find another way? Lasky approached the pedestals. Roland, if you're monitoring this through my neural implant, I need you to analyze these displays. Are they real-time feeds or elaborate simulations? A moment of silence. Then Roland's voice, faint but present, Captain, I've been trying to break through the interference. These displays they're partially real. Infinity is under attack by 6 Ori ships. That's happening. But the scenarios for SG-1 and Majestic are simulations overlaid on real situations. The Guardian is showing you worst-case outcomes and calling them inevitable. So my teams are in danger, but not the specific danger shown here. Correct. SG-1 is in their trial chamber, but Daniel isn't about to be crushed. Majestic is facing the construct, but it's not adaptive, it's following a predetermined combat routine. The Guardian is manipulating what you see to force an impossible choice that doesn't actually exist. Lasky turned back to the Guardian. Here's my choice, I choose to trust my people. SG-1 has survived impossible situations for 10 years, they'll figure out their trial. Fire Team Majestic are Spartan versus, the best soldiers humanity ever produced, they'll defeat your construct. And Infinity? She's got 17,000 crew members who don't need me micromanaging from a planet's surface. They'll hold the line. And if you're wrong, the Guardian asked. If your trust is misplaced and they die because you refuse to choose, then I live with that. But I won't make decisions based on fear and manipulation. The ancients understood something that the Ori forgot, that power without wisdom is tyranny. You're testing whether I have the wisdom to recognize when power shouldn't be used. And right now, the powerful choice would be to select one scenario and damn the others. The wise choice is to refuse the premise entirely. Palmer smiled grimly. The UNSC spent 27 years fighting an enemy with superior technology. We won because we didn't accept their definitions of victory and defeat. We made our own rules. The Guardian stood silent for a long moment. Then, impossibly, it laughed, a sound like wind through ancient trees. Merton would have liked you, Captain Lasky. He too refused to accept false choices. When the ancients told him ascension meant abandoning the physical world, he descended instead to fight the Ori directly. When they told him the only way to defeat ascended beings was with equal ascension, he built a weapon to kill gods from a mortal form. The 3 holographic displays vanished. In their place, a single pedestal rose from the floor, holding a small crystalline device that pulsed with ancient energy. This is the Songral's control matrix. Not the weapon itself, but the key to assembling it. The components are scattered across 3 worlds, hidden in facilities like this one. With this matrix, you can locate and activate them. The Guardian's form began to fade. But understand, Captain, the Sangral is not just a weapon. It is a declaration. Using it means accepting that you have the right to kill beings who exist on a higher plane of reality. That you, a mortal, can judge immortals and find them wanting. That power, it changes those who wield it. Merlin knew this. It's why he died before completing his work, he feared what he might become. Then I'll carry that fear with me, Lasky said, taking the crystal. But I won't let it stop me from protecting humanity. The Ori chose to wage war on mortals. If they're ascended beings, they should have known better. Their power doesn't grant them the right to enslave galaxies. Spoken like someone who has not yet wielded divine power, the Guardian said, now barely visible. But perhaps that innocence is itself wisdom. The ancients wielded such power and ascended to escape its burden. You wield it and remain mortal. We shall see which path proves wiser. The Guardian vanished completely. The chamber's walls became transparent, showing the facility's other sections. Through one wall, Lasky could see SG-1 emerging from their trial chamber, Daniel alive, the team intact, looking exhausted but triumphant. Through another, Fireteam Majestic stood victorious over the deactivated construct, not a single casualty. And above, through the stone ceiling rendered momentarily translucent by ancient technology, Lasky could see Infinity in orbit, still fighting but holding her own. Roland, sitrep on the orbital battle. Captain, we've got problems. 6 Ori motherships, led by the Orisai herself, Adria. They've modified their shields. Our MAC rounds are only penetrating at 60% efficiency. Sanders has been doing an excellent job keeping Infinity mobile and rotating shield faces, but we're at 42% shield strength and dropping. Odyssey and Daedalus are harassing the Ori flanks, but they're outgunned. We need you back aboard. Palmer was already moving toward the exit. Captain, we need to extract now. Agreed. All teams, rally at the gate. We've got what we came for, time to leave. They ran through Camelot's corridors, the facility no longer hostile now that they'd passed its trials. SG-1 met them at the central chamber, followed seconds later by Majestic. Daniel was carrying something, an ancient data device. We got information on the Songral's components, he said, breathless. The locations, the activation sequences, everything. Captain, did you? Lasky held up the crystal matrix. Got it. Now we need to survive long enough to use it. Move. They burst from Camelot's entrance into daylight. Above, the sky strobed with energy weapons fire, golden Ori beams lancing down at something invisible in orbit, answered by brilliant blue flashes as Infinity's shields absorbed punishment. Dial home. Mitchell shouted, already running for the Stargate. Daniel worked the DHD, fingers flying across the ancient controls. The Stargate activated, its event horizon stabilizing. SG-1 went through first, followed by Majestic. Lasky and Palmer were last, taking one final look at Camelot, the ancient facility that had tested them and found them worthy, or at least willing. Then they stepped through the gate, matter converted to energy and transmitted across light years in seconds. They emerged in Stargate Command's gate room to alarms and controlled chaos. General Landry was in the control room, barking orders. Captain Lasky. Thank God. Infinity is taking a beating up there. 6 Ori ships, all focusing fire. You need to get back aboard. Asgard beaming. Already coordinating with Odyssey. Stand by for transport. Lasky felt the familiar disorientation of Asgard beaming technology. Matter dematerialized and rematerialized instantly. When his vision cleared, he was standing in Infinity's CIC, battle damage evident in flickering lights and exposed conduits. Sanders looked up from the command chair with visible relief. Captain on deck. Transferring command. Status report, Lasky demanded, taking his chair. 6 Ori motherships in attack formation. They've adapted their shields. Our MAC rounds are still effective but significantly reduced penetration. We're at 40% shield strength. Hull breaches on deck 17, 23, and 35. Casualty count, 37 wounded, 8 dead. Odyssey reports moderate damage. Daedalus is venting atmosphere from a hit to their port sections. How long can we hold? At current attrition rate, 11 minutes before shields collapse completely. After that, maybe 4 minutes before they hit something critical. 15 minutes. That's how long they had before Infinity died. Lasky pulled up tactical displays, his mind racing through scenarios. 6 Ori ships, all with adapted shields. MAC cannons at reduced efficiency. 2 Allied ships damaged and outgunned. Mathematically, this was unwinnable. The Battle of Reach had been unwinnable too. Humanity lost that day. Lost the planet, lost billions, lost hope. But they hadn't lost everything. The Pillar of Autumn escaped. Master Chief survived. The fight continued. Roland, can we win this engagement? Not conventionally, no. Even if we use every missile in our magazines, even if Odyssey and Daedalus commit to maximum offensive, we can't destroy 6 Ori ships before they destroy us. The math doesn't work. Then we don't fight conventionally. Lasky looked at the Sangral matrix in his hand, at the crystal pulsing with ancient power. The Sangral is designed to kill ascended beings. The Orisai, Adria, she's half ascended, right? Born with Ori power. Carter's voice came through from the Odyssey. Captain, yes, but the Sangral isn't complete. That's just the control matrix. Without the other components, it's useless. Not useless. Just incomplete. Lasky turned to Roland. Can you interface with this? Analyze its energy signature. Roland's avatar flickered as he connected to the ancient device. Captain, it's sophisticated. The matrix contains quantum-locked pathways designed to channel massive amounts of energy along specific frequencies. Frequencies that target ascended beings by disrupting their connection to their higher plane of existence. Can we weaponize it? Turn it into something that hurts Adria even without the full assembly? That's insane. You'd be using a precision instrument as a blunt object. But, Roland's calculations ran across displays. If we channel Infinity's reactor output through the matrix and broadcast on those frequencies, we could create a field that disrupts Ori-enhanced abilities. It wouldn't kill Adria, but it would hurt her. Distract her. Maybe even force her to withdraw. Do it. Rig the matrix to our main power systems and prepare to broadcast. Maximum intensity, focused beam toward the lead Ori ship. Captain, this could overload our reactor, Sanders warned. If the matrix can't handle the power load, then we explode. But if we do nothing, we definitely die in 11 minutes. I'll take the chance. Lasky opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. We're about to do something extremely inadvisable with ancient technology and way too much power. Hold on to something, and if you're religious, now would be a good time to pray. We're taking the fight to the Ori, on our terms. In the engineering bay, technicians worked frantically to connect the Sangral matrix to Infinity's massive reactor core. Ancient technology meeting Forerunner enhanced human engineering, quantum pathways interfacing with Naquata power conduits. On the lead Ori mothership, Adria stood on her bridge, watching Infinity die by degrees. The human vessel was impressive, she admitted. Powerful shields, devastating weapons, a crew that refused to break even as they faced impossible odds. Admirable. Futile, but admirable. Orisai, the heretic ship is maneuvering, her tactical officer reported. They're rotating to present their bow directly toward us. Energy readings are spiking across their hull. They're preparing to fire. All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel. I want it destroyed before. The beam hit her like the wrath of the ancients themselves. Infinity's reactor output, normally channeled to shields, weapons, and propulsion, poured through the Sangral matrix in a focused lance of ancient-coded energy. It wasn't the weapon Merlin intended, wasn't the precise instrument designed to sever ascended beings from existence. It was a hammer made from a scalpel, raw power channeled through quantum pathways never meant to handle such intensity. But it worked. Adria screamed, her connection to the Ori disrupted, her half-ascended nature suddenly a liability as the energy tore at her existence. Around her, the bridge system sparked and failed, the ship's ancient derived technology resonating with frequencies that shouldn't exist in mortal space. Cease fire, she commanded, her voice breaking. All ships, retreat. The 6 Ori motherships broke formation, their elegant hulls turning away from infinity, hyperspace windows opening in desperate escape. In seconds, they vanished, fleeing back toward the supergate. Aboard Infinity, the jury-rigged system exploded spectacularly, sending arcs of energy cascading through engineering. The reactor automatically scrammed, safety systems preventing catastrophic failure by microseconds. Emergency lighting activated across the ship. Silence filled the CIC. Status? Lasky asked into the quiet. All Ori ships have retreated, Roland reported, his voice carrying disbelief. They're gone, Captain. We actually won. Damage report. Main reactor offline, will take 6 hours to restart. Shields completely depleted. The Sangral matrix is destroyed, completely vaporized by the power we pushed through it. Engineering deck is a disaster area. But sir, no additional casualties. We're alive. Lasky slumped in his command chair, exhaustion crashing over him. They'd survived. Driven off 6 Ori ships. Recovered the Sangral's key. Passed Camelot's trials. All in one mission. Captain Lasky, General Landry's face appeared on the display. I don't know what you just did, but it worked. The Ori are in full retreat. Adria is broadcasting on all Ori channels. She's ordered a cessation of offensive operations pending strategic reassessment. We hurt her, Lasky said. Used an incomplete ancient superweapon as an improvised directed energy weapon. It won't work twice, we destroyed the Matrix doing it, but we proved the Sangral's principles are sound. When we assemble the complete weapon, it will kill them. Then we assemble it, Landry said firmly. Dr. Jackson has the locations. We hit those facilities, retrieve the components, and we end this war. On the display, the supergate glowed in the distance, a doorway between galaxies, carrying the Ori's crusade and humanity's defiance in equal measure. The Battle of Camelot was over. But the war had just entered its final phase. 3 weeks after the Battle of Camelot, the UNSC Infinity held position in orbit above Earth, not their Earth, but one whose history had diverged centuries ago, where Stargates connected humanity across the stars and ancient civilizations left weapons powerful enough to reshape reality. In Infinity's observation deck, Captain Lasky stood before floor-to-ceiling viewports, watching the planet rotate below. Beside him, Commander Palmer nursed a cup of coffee, both officers finally allowing themselves a moment of stillness after weeks of constant operations. You know what's strange? Palmer said. After 27 years fighting the Covenant, I thought I understood war. But this, fighting religious fanatics again, but in a completely different universe with completely different rules, it's like relearning everything we thought we knew. The tactics are the same, Lasky replied. The principles don't change. Protect civilians. Deny the enemy resources. Hit them where they're weak. What's different is that here, we actually have a weapon that can win. The Sangral components lay in Infinity's secure vault, 3 crystalline devices retrieved from ancient facilities across the galaxy over brutal weeks of missions. Each retrieval had cost casualties, each facility had tested them in different ways, but now they possessed what Merlin had designed millennia ago, a weapon to kill ascended beings. Dr. Daniel Jackson entered the observation deck, carrying a datapad filled with ancient translations. "Captain, I've finished analyzing the Sangral's activation protocols. It's elegant. Terrible, but elegant. Merlin designed it to specifically target the Ori by disrupting their connection to their worshippers. Without that connection, they lose the power that sustains their ascended forms. They'll die. All of them?" Lasky asked. "Every Ori simultaneously. That's the theory. The weapon transmits across subspace on frequencies that only ascended beings can perceive. It's like a virus, spreading from Ori to Ori through their shared consciousness. When we activate it, every Ori in both galaxies will feel the effect within seconds." Palmer set down her coffee. "What about the humans they've converted? The billions worshipping them across the origin galaxy?" "They'll be freed," Daniel said. "Without the Ori's influence, without priors enforcing religious doctrine, those populations will have the opportunity to choose their own path. It won't be immediate, religious indoctrination lasts generations, but it's a start." "And the cost?" Lasky asked quietly, knowing ancient weapons always carried prices. Daniel hesitated. "The Sangral draws enormous power. To transmit on subspace frequencies that penetrate ascended planes of existence requires energy comparable to a supernova. We'll need to position it near a star and use that star's entire output for approximately 8 seconds. The star itself won't be destroyed, but anything within its immediate solar system will be bathed in radiation that makes nuclear detonation look gentle. So we need an uninhabited system," Palmer said. "And we need to deliver the Sangral to that system, activate it, and extract before the Ori realize what we're doing and send everything they have to stop us," Daniel added. "Because Captain, the moment we begin activation protocols, every Ori, every prior, every mothership will know. They'll come for us with everything they have." Lasky turned from the viewport. "Then we plan for that. We choose our system carefully, position a defensive fleet, and we hold the line long enough for the weapon to charge and fire. It's what humanity does, we stand between extinction and survival, and we don't break." The War Council assembled in Stargate Command's main briefing room, an unprecedented gathering of command authorities. General Landry represented the SGC. Colonel Carter commanded the Earth Fleet. Captain Lasky spoke for the UNSC Infinity. TLC represented the Free Jaffa Nation. And via holographic projection, leaders from the Tok'ra, the Asgard, in their final days, and various allied human worlds participated. "The strategic situation is clear," Landry began. "The Ori control approximately 140 systems in this galaxy. They're fortifying their positions, building infrastructure, and preparing for renewed offensive. Intelligence from Tok'ra operatives suggests they're constructing a new generation of motherships, larger, more powerful, and designed specifically to counter our tactics." Carter pulled up tactical displays. "We estimate they can field 20 motherships within 3 months. Combined with their ground forces, prior networks, and converted populations, they represent an overwhelming threat. If we wait for them to complete these preparations, we lose our window to deploy the Sangral." "Then we don't wait," Lasky said. "We choose our system, position the weapon, and we activate it before they can respond in force." A Tok'ra representative, Garshaw, leaned forward in her holographic form. "Captain Lasky, the Ori will defend against this attack with everything they possess. You speak of holding a position, but you will face not just ships, you will face Adria. The Orisai has been gathering power since Camelot, consolidating her forces. She will lead the response personally." "Let her come," Lasky replied. We've hurt her before. We can hurt her again. You disrupted her connection using an incomplete weapon at full reactor output, Garshaw countered. And it nearly destroyed your ship. The Orisai will not fall for the same tactic twice. She will bring sufficient force to overwhelm any defense you mount. Then we don't just defend, Palmer said. We attack simultaneously. Hit Ori-controlled systems while deploying the Sangral. Force them to divide their forces, choose between defending their conquests and stopping the weapon. TLC nodded approvingly. A sound strategy. The Ori cannot be everywhere simultaneously. If we strike multiple targets, they must allocate resources. And while they are divided, we complete our primary objective. Carter was already running simulations. We have 4 BC-304s, Odyssey, Daedalus, Apollo, and Korolev, now repaired. Plus Infinity. That's 5 capital ships. If we split our forces, 3 ships to deliver and defend the Sangral, 2 ships to run harassment operations against Ori territory, we might pull it off. Who delivers the weapon? Landry asked. Every eye turned to Lasky. Infinity volunteers, he said. We're the most powerful ship, the best able to absorb punishment while the Sangral charges. Give us Odyssey and Daedalus for support. Apollo and Korolev run the harassment campaign, hit Ori logistics, force them to respond, buy us time. Captain, you're volunteering for a suicide mission, Landry said bluntly. Once the Sangral begins activation, you can't move. You'll be a stationary target facing the entire Ori fleet. I know. But General, the UNSC has a saying, who dares, wins. We've survived impossible odds before. We'll do it again, or we'll die knowing we gave everything to stop the Ori's crusade. Lasky looked around the table. Every person aboard Infinity volunteered for this, crossing universes, fighting in a war that isn't technically ours. They know the risks. They accept them. Roland's avatar appeared on the display. I've identified the optimal system for deployment. Designation P9G844, a red dwarf star with no habitable planets, located at the periphery of Ori-controlled space. It's isolated enough that collateral damage will be minimal, but close enough that our harassment operations can draw Ori forces away from it. How long for activation? Carter asked. 8 minutes from initiation to firing, Roland reported. But we'll need to hold position for the entire duration. Any movement disrupts the subspace alignment. Captain Lasky is correct, we'll be stationary and vulnerable. 8 minutes against the Ori fleet, Mitchell said quietly. That's a hell of a last stand. It's the only stand that matters, Lasky replied. We end this war, or we die trying. There's no third option. The vote was unanimous. Stargate Command would deploy the Sangral to P9G844 in 72 hours. The harassment fleet would begin operations 48 hours prior, drawing Ori attention. And Infinity, Odyssey, and Daedalus would make their stand. As the council dispersed, Daniel approached Lasky. Captain, I want to be aboard Infinity when you deploy the Sangral. I've studied ancient technology for 15 years. If something goes wrong, if the activation protocols fail, I might be able to help. Dr. Jackson, this is a combat operation with a high probability of casualties. You're a civilian. I'm an archaeologist who's died twice, ascended once, and spent a decade stopping galaxy-ending threats, Daniel interrupted. With respect, Captain, I've earned my place in this fight. And Merlin left notes, encoded messages that only someone who's ascended can fully understand. If the Sangral malfunctions, you'll need me. Lasky studied the man, noting the determination behind the academic exterior, the weight of experience in eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. Daniel Jackson was a scholar, yes. But he was also a warrior in his own way, fighting with knowledge where others fought with weapons. All right, Dr. Jackson. You're coming. But you follow Commander Palmer's orders. If she says run, you run. Agreed, Daniel said. Then, quieter, Captain, do you think we'll survive this? I think we'll do what needs to be done. Everything after that is bonus time. Lasky managed a thin smile. The UNSC has survived 27 years of bonus time since the Covenant first attacked. We're good at improvising survival. 72 hours later, Infinity transitioned out of hyperspace at the edge of P9G 844's solar system. The red dwarf burned dull crimson in the view screen, its weak light barely illuminating the three frozen worlds orbiting in tight formation. No life. No civilization. A perfect place to kill gods. Defensive positions, Lasky ordered. Odyssey, Daedalus, take flanking positions. Establish overlapping fields of fire. Roland, begin Sangral deployment. From Infinity's ventral bay, a pelican descended carrying the assembled Sangral, three ancient components merged into a single device the size of a small car, crystalline structures pulsing with contained power. Spartan fire team Majestic piloted, Thorn's steady hands guiding them toward optimal positioning between Infinity and the star. Sangral deployed, Thorn reported. Anchoring to spatial coordinates. Device is stable. Roland's avatar shimmered. Initiating activation sequence. Subspace alignment in progress. Estimated time to firing, 8 minutes, 12 seconds. Fleet status. Lasky asked. Apollo and Korolev report successful strikes on Ori logistics stations in Grid 773, communications reported. They've engaged 2 Ori motherships and are withdrawing with heavy pursuit. Mission accomplished, they've got the Ori's attention. Then it's only a matter of time before. Hyperspace windows opening. Tactical screamed. Multiple contacts. Counting 8, no, 12, 15 Ori motherships. They're surrounding us. The view screen filled with golden hulls, elegant and terrible, Ori motherships dropping out of hyperspace in a coordinated envelope. They'd anticipated the location, anticipated the strategy, and brought overwhelming force. And at the center of their formation, a single ship larger than the others, its hull inscribed with religious iconography that glowed with internal fire. That's Adria's flagship, Carter reported from Odyssey. She's here. Captain, this is worse than we thought. It's exactly what we expected, Lasky replied calmly. We knew they'd bring everything. Roland, time to firing. 7 minutes, 44 seconds. Then we hold for 7 minutes and 44 seconds. All ships, engage at will. By the Sangral time. Infinity's Mach cannons fired, 4 rounds launching at relativistic velocity toward the nearest Ori ship. The vessel's shields flared, adapted harmonics dispersing kinetic energy more efficiently than before, but the round still punched through. The Ori ship staggered, hull breaches visible along its flanks. But 14 more ships remained. Golden beams lanced across space, converging on Infinity from multiple vectors. The supercarrier's shields absorbed the initial barrage, but the sustained bombardment began eating through defensive layers like acid through armor. Shields at 78% and falling. Roland reported. Odyssey and Daedalus darted between the Ori ships, their Asgard plasma beams carving into enemy hulls, missile salvos detonating against shields. But they were gnats against giants, their attacks barely registering against the overwhelming Ori force. On Adria's flagship, the Orisai watched the human defiance with something like admiration. They knew they would die. Knew their ships couldn't stand against 15 Ori motherships. Yet they fought anyway, buying time for their weapon with their lives. How long until their device activates, she asked. 7 minutes, Orisai. More than enough time to kill them all. Adria raised her hand, channeling Ori power directly. All ships, concentrate fire on the large vessel. I want it destroyed before their weapon can fire. 15 Ori motherships focused their beams on Infinity simultaneously. The effect was devastating. Shields collapsed in sectors, energy bleeding through to strike hull plating. Metal superheated and vaporized. Sections decompressed. Crew compartments became tombs in seconds. Shields at 42%. Roland shouted over alarms. Hull breaches on decks 12, 15, 21, and 37. Casualties mounting. Rotate shield faces, Lasky ordered. Don't let them concentrate on one section. Fire MAC cannons on independent targeting, force them to split their attention. Infinity fired again, 4 rounds striking 4 different Ori ships. 2 penetrated shields and caused significant damage. 2 were deflected by improved shield harmonics, the kinetic energy dispersed across adaptive barriers. The Ori were learning. Evolving their defenses in real time. 6 minutes to firing, Roland reported. An Ori ship exploded as Daedalus managed a critical hit to its reactor core. But immediately, another ship moved to fill the gap, maintaining the formation's integrity. 5 minutes. Infinity's shields failed completely in the forward sections. Ori beams carved into the hull, superheating metal, venting atmosphere. The ship shuddered under impacts that would have destroyed lesser vessels instantly. 4 minutes. Captain, we're not going to make it. Structural integrity is failing. We're losing too many sections too fast. In engineering, damage control teams fought fires and sealed breaches with desperate efficiency. In medical bays, Dr. Fraser worked alongside Infinity's medical staff, treating casualties faster than they arrived. In the CIC, Lasky watched his ship die by degrees and refused to yield. 3 minutes. All hands, brace for. The Ori beam punched through deck plating and struck the CIC directly. Everything went white. Lasky felt himself thrown, felt the command chair disintegrate, felt heat that should have vaporized him. Then Palmer was dragging him, armor servos giving her strength to pull him into an auxiliary corridor as the CIC collapsed into flame. Captain! Captain, stay with me. His vision cleared. Blood ran down his face from a gash across his forehead. His left arm hung uselessly. But he was alive. The Sangral, he gasped. Still charging. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Palmer's helmet display showed the tactical situation, Infinity crippled but still fighting, Odyssey heavily damaged, Daedalus missing entire sections but operational. And the Sangral, protected by their sacrifice, continuing its inexorable countdown. Get me to auxiliary control, Lasky ordered. They ran through corridors filled with smoke and emergency lighting, stepping over debris and around casualties. When they reached the auxiliary command center, Sanders was already there, coordinating the defense from backup systems. Captain. Thank God. We thought. Status. 2 minutes to firing. But sir, Adria's ship is moving. She's positioning between us and the Sangral. I think she's going to try to disrupt it directly. On the view screen, Adria's flagship advanced, golden hull blazing with channeled Ori power. Through the view, Lasky could see her, standing on her bridge, eyes glowing brilliant white, arms raised as she gathered energy. She was going to destroy the Sangral with raw ascended power. And none of them could stop her. 1 minute, 30 seconds, Roland said quietly. Then, impossibly, a new hyperspace window opened. Not an Ori ship. Not another enemy. But a familiar profile, angular, functional, built for war. The UNSC Apollo, not the BC-304 Apollo, but another vessel entirely, one that shouldn't exist in this universe. Except it did, because Roland had transmitted Infinity's specifications and construction data to Earth's shipyards months ago, and the combined Tauri UNSC engineering corps had built a hybrid. Smaller than Infinity, only 2 kilometers long, but mounting 4 MAC cannons and shields adapted from both Asgard and Forerunner technology. This is Captain Rodriguez of the Apollo, came a new voice. Sorry we're late. Let's finish this. The Apollo fired all 4 Mach cannons simultaneously at Adria's flagship. The rounds hit the Orisi's ship at full power, kinetic energy overwhelming even her channeled defenses. The flagship rocked, Adria's concentration broken, her attack on the Sangral interrupted. 30 seconds. Roland shouted. Adria screamed in rage and pain, her half-ascended form blazing with power. She turned her attack on the Apollo, golden energy lancing out to tear the new ship apart. But 30 seconds was enough. The Sangral activated. From the device, a pulse of energy expanded, not visible light, not anything physical, but a ripple in reality itself that propagated across subspace at speeds that defied physics. It touched the nearest Ori mothership, and the vessel simply stopped. Engines died. Shields collapsed. Crew fell unconscious as the Ori presence that sustained them vanished. The pulse spread, touching ship after ship, each one dying as their connection to ascended power severed. In the city of Celestis, in the origin galaxy millions of light-years away, the Ori themselves felt the weapon's touch. Ascended beings who had existed for millennia, who had wielded power that reshaped reality, who had demanded worship from billions, they felt Merlin's final vengeance tear through their consciousness. And they died. Not in fire. Not in explosions. Simply ceased to exist, their ascended forms unraveling as the Sangral disrupted the fundamental principles that sustained them. In 8 seconds, the Ori were extinct. On Adria's flagship, the Orisi felt her connection to the Ori sever. The power that had sustained her half-ascended nature vanished. She collapsed, suddenly mortal, suddenly vulnerable. All Ori ships are dead in space, Roland reported, his voice carrying disbelief. No power signatures. No weapons. No shields. They're just, floating. Across the galaxy, on 140 conquered worlds, priors fell. Their enhanced abilities vanished. Their connection to the Ori severed. Billions of converted humans looked up from forced worship and, for the first time in months, saw clarity. The crusade was over. Aboard Infinity, in the battered auxiliary control center, Lasky leaned against a console and let exhaustion claim him. They'd done it. Against impossible odds, against ascended beings, against the weight of religious fanaticism that had consumed galaxies. Humanity had won. Sir, Sanders said quietly, we're receiving transmissions from across the fleet. Odyssey reports moderate damage but operational. Daedalus is crippled but stable. Apollo. Captain Rodriguez reports they're naming their ship after the Greek god of truth. Says it felt appropriate for a vessel that helped kill false gods. Lasky smiled through pain and exhaustion. Tell Captain Rodriguez he has excellent taste in irony. And tell General Landry, tell him the UNSC Infinity completed its mission. The Ori are dead. The war is over. 6 months after the Battle of P9G 844, the UNSC Infinity hung in Earth orbit, repaired and refitted with combined ancient, Asgard, and Forerunner technology. Her crew had been offered the choice, stay in this universe and continue helping defend against remaining threats, or attempt to find a way home. Most chose to stay. In Stargate Command, Captain Lasky stood before a memorial wall, new additions showing the names of those who'd fallen during the Ori War. 19 from the first engagement at P4X 639. 34 from Camelot. 87 from the final battle at P9G 844. 140 names. 140 UNSC personnel who died in a universe not their own, fighting a war they hadn't started, protecting people they'd never met. They didn't die for nothing, Daniel said, appearing beside him. Those 140 names saved billions. The Ori's crusade would have consumed this galaxy. Your people stopped it. They were following orders, Lasky said quietly. My orders. That weight doesn't get lighter just because the outcome was positive. No, Daniel agreed. It doesn't. Welcome to command in the Stargate universe, Captain. We've all got walls full of names we carry. But we carry them so that future generations won't have to. General Landry approached, carrying official documents. Captain Lasky, the President of the United States, acting with support from the International Oversight Advisory, has made a formal request. They're asking the UNSC Infinity to remain as part of Earth's defensive fleet. Not temporarily. Permanently. With what authority? Lasky asked. We're not citizens of this Earth. We're not part of your chain of command. Which is why they're offering you a commission. Captain Thomas Lasky, UNSC, becomes Captain Thomas Lasky, Tauri Space Command. Infinity becomes the flagship of a new fleet, a combined force drawing on UNSC tactics, Asgard technology, and ancient knowledge. A fleet designed not just to defend Earth, but to explore, to make peaceful contact, to do what Stargate Command has always done, stand between humanity and extinction. Lasky looked at the memorial wall, at the names of those who'd sacrificed everything. Then he looked through the observation window at Infinity, at the ship that had carried them across universes and into legend. I need to ask my crew. The UNSC doesn't make choices like this without consensus. Of course, Landry said. Take your time. The offer stands. But Lasky already knew what his crew would choose. They'd found purpose here, found a continuation of the mission they'd always served, protect humanity at all costs. That principle didn't change just because the humans they protected existed in a different universe. 2 weeks later, at a ceremony attended by representatives from dozens of allied worlds, Captain Thomas Lasky formally accepted a commission in the Tauri Space Command. Infinity would remain, her crew would continue their mission, and humanity, across 2 universes, would face the future together. On P4X-639, the farming world they defended in their first battle, a monument stood in the central village. It showed a massive warship standing between the planet and the stars, with an inscription in multiple languages. Here stood the UNSC Infinity, when we had nothing but hope and they had everything but fear. They taught us that gods can die, that faith should be chosen freely, and that humanity's greatest strength lies not in weapons, but in the willingness to stand for what is right. We will remember. Roland, watching through Infinity's sensors, allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. They'd crossed universes, inherited a war, and changed the course of galactic history. The Forerunners would have called it fulfilling the mantle of responsibility. The UNSC called it doing their duty. In the end, it was the same thing. Captain Lasky stood on Infinity's bridge, looking at the Stargate network's chart showing thousands of worlds now free from Ori tyranny, and knew that their journey wasn't over. New threats would emerge. New missions would call. The Gate network connected to countless unknowns. But that was fine. The UNSC had always specialized in facing the unknown with determination and firepower in equal measure. Commander Palmer approached, carrying new orders from Stargate Command. Sir, we've got reports of unusual activity near the Pegasus Galaxy. Something about an ancient city ship called Atlantis facing a new threat. General Landry is asking if Infinity would be willing to provide support. Lasky smiled. Tell General Landry that the UNSC Infinity stands ready. And Commander? Sir. Make sure the Spartans are prepped. Something tells me this next mission is going to be interesting. Through Infinity's viewports, the Stargate on Earth's surface activated, its event horizon shimmering with possibility. 7 chevrons locked into position, and a wormhole established, a doorway to another world, another mission, another chapter in humanity's endless struggle against the darkness. The UNSC Infinity had entered the Stargate universe at the height of the Ori War. Now, as the flagship of a combined human fleet drawing on 2 universes worth of knowledge and determination, she would help ensure that the galaxy remained free. The gate was open. The mission continued. And humanity, stubborn, defiant, absolutely unwilling to kneel to gods or submit to tyranny, would face whatever came through that shimmering portal with the same response they'd given every threat across 2 universes. Not today. Not ever. We stand. Indeed. The UNSC Infinity's arrival in the Stargate universe during the height of the Ori War represented more than a dimensional accident, it represented the collision of two humanities' philosophies of survival. The UNSC had spent 27 years fighting the Covenant's religious crusade, learning that superior technology could be defeated through tactical brilliance, sacrifice, and absolute refusal to surrender. When they encountered the Ori's campaign of forced conversion, they recognized the pattern immediately: ascended beings weaponizing faith to justify genocide, exactly like the prophets had done with the Covenant. But where the Covenant War had lasted decades and cost billions of lives, the Ori War ended in months because Infinity's crew understood what Stargate Command was still learning, that some threats require not just defensive operations but offensive elimination. The decision to retrieve and deploy the Sangral, despite its dangers and uncertainties, reflected UNSC doctrine refined through existential conflict: identify the enemy's critical vulnerability, strike it decisively, and accept whatever cost necessary to ensure humanity's survival. The character trials at Camelot revealed the fundamental difference between ancient wisdom and UNSC pragmatism. The ancients built tests that evaluated moral worthiness because they feared what their technology could become in unworthy hands. But Lasky's rejection of the Guardian's impossible choices demonstrated that worthiness isn't about making perfect decisions in rigged scenarios, it's about recognizing manipulation and refusing to accept false premises. The UNSC had learned through the Covenant War that the enemy's definition of victory and defeat didn't have to be accepted. They made their own rules, fought on their own terms, and won by redefining what winning meant. The final battle at P9G 844 exemplified everything that made UNSC tactics effective against superior forces: multi-domain warfare combining space combat with ground operations, aggressive use of combined arms, willingness to accept catastrophic damage to achieve objectives, and most critically, the understanding that holding positions under impossible fire is exactly what humanity does best. Infinity stood stationary for 8 minutes under concentrated bombardment from 15 Ori motherships because that's what the mission required. 140 UNSC personnel died buying those 8 minutes, and their sacrifice ended a crusade that had already consumed billions. The Ori's extinction marked the first time ascended beings had been killed by mortal weapons in Stargate history. The Sangral proved that no level of advancement grants immunity from consequences, that gods who choose to wage war on mortals accept the possibility that mortals might find ways to kill gods. This fundamental truth, that power doesn't grant the right to abuse it, resonated across both the Ori's conquered territories and the UNSC's historical experience with the Covenant. Both were religious hierarchies that believed their divine mandate justified any atrocity. Both discovered that humanity responds to existential threats with technological innovation and strategic brutality. Infinity's decision to remain in the Stargate universe as the Tauri Space Command's flagship represents more than military alliance, it represents the merger of two branches of humanity's approach to survival among the stars. The UNSC brought combat experience against overwhelming odds, Forerunner-enhanced technology, and doctrine refined through decades of desperate warfare. Stargate Command brought knowledge of ancient technology, established diplomatic relationships across the galaxy, and understanding of threats ranging from parasitic false gods to ascended zealots. Together, they formed a defensive and exploratory force that combined UNSC's tactical aggression with the SGC's scientific curiosity and cultural sensitivity. The Memorial Wall's 140 names will be joined by more as Infinity continues operations in this universe. New threats will emerge from the Gate Network, the Wraith and Pegasus, remaining gold system lords, ancient technology activating in unexpected ways, and countless unknown dangers on uncharted worlds. But now Earth faces those threats with a 5-kilometer-long supercarrier crewed by 17,000 personnel who've already proven they can kill gods, pass ancient trials, and stand firm under fire that should have annihilated them. Captain Lasky's journey from commander of a ship trapped in the wrong universe to flagship captain of humanity's combined fleet mirrors the UNSC's broader transformation from desperate survivors of the Covenant War to architects of a new defensive paradigm. They brought their warfighting doctrine to a universe that needed it, adapted to local threats with characteristic efficiency, and proved that the principles sustaining humanity through one existential war translate effectively to any conflict where the stakes involve survival against impossible odds. The Stargate network connects thousands of worlds, each with unique cultures, technologies, and potential threats. The UNSC Infinity now stands as humanity's response to that vast unknown, a declaration that Earth will not merely defend itself but will actively explore, make contact, and when necessary, fight to ensure that the galaxy remains a place where sentient beings choose their own destinies. The Ori learned this lesson terminally. Future threats will learn it as well. The wormhole shimmers with endless possibility. The mission continues. And humanity stands ready.